This is Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the final Talking Left of 2012. Today we're going to give you our own best of our lists of underreported stories, activists, predictions, and conservative truths, and so much more.
Yeah, because we've been watching these best ofs.
They're all the same.
All the same.
Yeah.
All the same. We're going to do a best of the best ofs.
Yeah,
But
47%.
47%, 47%, 47%.
Exactly.
47%. We will not mention the 47% again.
Exactly.
Unless a guest mentions it.
Everybody knows it. But we're going to start off, as usual, with some news. We like to always tell you about news you may have missed over the week. Well, how about some news you may have missed over the year? There's several underreported stories of 2012 that should have been discussed, should have been brought up, should have been talked about more. So, as usual, we're going to give them to you here. First and foremost, a big story of 2012 that hardly anybody talked about: debtors' prisons. Yes, Mother Jones, thankfully, did take time to report it. A news story about how debtors' prisons are back in this country. Essentially, people being imprisoned because they owe money to creditors. Everything working okay over there, Shano?
Yeah, I think maybe down in SoFlo, George maybe didn't turn off his encoders at the right time, so now we're encoding again.
Okay.
Do them.
Okay, well,
It's cool.
We'll switch that over on the break.
No problem.
Okay. Yes, if you are listening on We Act Radio, excuse me, if you are listening on We Act Radio, you may hear a slight delay in at the next break. But yes, debtors' prisons are back. How does this work, you may ask? Well, the court, when a person is sued by their creditor, the court orders them to disclose their property or assets in order for creditors to collect on the debt. Well, if the person does not appear or does not present the assets, they are then held in contempt of court and arrested.
It's called an information subpoena.
Yes. And in many jurisdictions, bail posted to get out of jail for being jailed for this contempt of court is used to, in fact, pay the creditors. So essentially, debtors' prisons are back. Law professor Alan White describes the process. He says, quote, if, in effect, people are being incarcerated until they pay bail, and bail is being used to pay their debts, then they're being incarcerated to pay their debts.
It is a debtors. You're imprisoning debtors.
Exactly. So as much as one would think this story would be all over the place, considering most people believe debtors' prisons are a thing of the past, I didn't hear it talked about.
No, it's really shocking because you think of all of the ways that creditors go above and beyond the call of what they should be doing in terms of harassment and all that. This is the ultimate one, and it's legal.
And it's
That's
legal.
the crazy part. I mean, that is an incredible weapon that they have at their disposal because,
And as many people are unaware of it, nobody's fighting to stop it, to eliminate this process. So,
shedding a light on it, talking about the stories in which it occurs, hopefully will, infuriate enough people that they'll do something about it because there needs to be a carve-out exception or something like that.
We did speak of it on Talking Left early in the year, and we got in depth into the story. We're just going to mention it here as part of our underreported news. Another story, and Shane, you followed this and wrote about it for Talk Radio News Service, is hospital consolidation. Why don't you explain a little bit about this?
Sure. We've been talking, we're talking about the fiscal cliff, fiscal curb, all of that, right now. And one of the biggest drivers of government spending is medical costs and personal spending as well. Very expensive. Everyone knows that. And while Obamacare has brought that curve down a little bit, there's a lot of institutional problems that drive up the prices of healthcare, not being able to negotiate with drug companies, things like that. One of the biggest problems, and you noticed this when you worked in the healthcare industry, there's not very many insurance companies.
No.
They say, you remember during the debate, oh, you can have your choice of insurance companies. It's the same company with 100 different.
With 100 different names.
Under.
Right.
Well, another thing that's happening, and this is a case that came up before the Supreme Court, you would think that there's things like Sherman Antitrust, Clayton Act, things like that would keep companies from having monopolies. Something that's happening, this case was, I believe, in Georgia.
Yes.
It's a test case.
Dougherty County, Georgia.
There's a hospital. It's a small county. There's only 2 hospitals in this county. They were owned by different companies, which is a good thing. Competition. All of our free market friends on the right love competition, except
Or
when they're
so
in
they
business.
say. Yeah.
Because then they like monopolies. One exemption from Sherman Antitrust is what's called state action, when a state can create a monopoly. Okay, so individual
like power companies,
private
water
companies,
companies.
right?
Yeah.
But states can do it; they are exempt from antitrust laws. So what the hospital did, one of the hospital companies in Georgia did, said, "Well, we have this hospital authority, which is set up under Georgia law. You, hospital authority, will give you the money to buy the other hospital." And then you sell it or rent it to us. So we'll have a monopoly. We'll own all the hospitals in that county. And the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, cannot come after us for violations of antitrust laws because it's exempt as state action.
Yes.
Now, if the Supreme Court says, yep, you're right, that's state action, look for lots more consolidation of these hospitals, driving up the price even more. So this is a big deal.
Yes. The case is Federal Trade Commission, FTC, versus Phoebe Putney Health, which is the hospital that originally wanted to purchase the second hospital, creating a monopoly in the county. Phoebe Putney Health used the Albany-Dougherty County Hospital Authority to, in fact, purchase the other hospital, creating a monopoly, and the FTC is attempting to sue for violation of the Clayton Act. You write in your article, Shane.
I better have gotten it right.
The question before the court was whether the use of the hospital authority as an intermediary constituted state action, thereby exempting the respondent from antitrust laws. Basically, by creating a bogus authority.
Well, the authority is absolutely 100%, legal, all that. It's to purchase hospitals, but it's to provide for the general good. This is a lot like Lido up in Connecticut, New London, the takings clause, where the government took a piece of property and then gave it to a private company, and they said that's okay.
Because the government did it.
Because the government did it. Essentially using it as an intermediate. The authority has lots of powers, which
Right.
is to buy hospitals, but if it's essentially a shell game where we're just buying it and giving it like in the same sign of a paper to another company that creates a monopoly, doesn't it seem a little transparent? That's what worries me. I think the Supreme Court, you have a even more, actually, when it comes right down to it, is the conservatives that are against Lido. So I don't know how it's going to turn out.
It will be one we should watch. And it's just very interesting because these boards, these hospital authorities are often filled with representatives that work in the healthcare industry. In other words, the hospital staff, executives, people who may have a stake in whether or not they can have a monopoly in the area. And I don't care if you're on the right or the left, but especially on the right, tell me how this lack of choice is going to benefit people in that county.
Right.
It's very interesting.
Conservatives love to talk about the free market, but hate to participate in it.
Yeah.
They love monopolies.
And it really, if this rules in favor of the hospital chain, we're going to see these hospital authorities, local board of healthcare, blah, blah,
Right.
blah,
Now,
whatever you want to call it, spring up everywhere.
They're going to try it, but there's a great way if that does happen, and if they start doing this, there are notice requirements, there are public meeting requirements, there are votes of boards and things like that. So there is a way to take action to stop this, but everyone has to know about it, because if you see some sign or some little ad in your newspaper, there's a hearing about this, we need to start pointing it out if this starts occurring, because that rapid consolidation of not only the people who pay the bills, the insurance companies, and then the people who provide it are all consolidated. You're going to be dealing with, essentially one
people,
actor in a market.
right? And people who want to whine and complain about the government control of healthcare, yeah, because corporate control, unilateral corporate control would be so much better.
In which case, prices never settle at a market value because there is no market.
And another big story, and we've heard this, we have heard this talked about, but I don't think it's gotten enough coverage, the FISA amendments. And Shane, I know this is one that was particularly interesting to you.
This one slipped under the fiscal cliff radar, didn't it?
Yeah. FISA.
Look over there. Look over there.
FISA essentially allows the government to spy on its citizens because they may or may not be talking to a quote-unquote terrorist.
Well, FISA first was done, I believe, in the 70s in response to Watergate and things like that. And actually, it was kind of a cool thing when it was first. It's when it was amended in 2008 that it really went crazy. But go ahead.
Well, and in the extension of FISA that was voted on recently and is expected to be signed by President Obama very soon, if it hasn't been already, the FISA Amendment Act of 2008 has been extended for 5 years. Well, there were several senators who attempted to amend this law to make it more just and more in accordance with the actual Constitution. And all of those amendments mysteriously disappeared.
Evaporated for lack of time. They decided to wait till 3 days before it expired and say, oh, we're out of time, and then pulled cloture on all of them. Notice, if you look through the congressional record, it all failed to meet 60 votes, failed to meet 60 votes, failed to meet 60 votes. And these were important amendments. Because what FISA does, especially the 2008 amendment, if you look at the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, it's really important. It talks about probable cause, blah, 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 warrant, cell issue, but upon probable cause. And the next line is the most important. Stating with particularity the person and places and things to be searched and seized. It's the word particularity that kind of like well-regulated in the Second Amendment they kind of ignore. FISA, as it was amended in 2008 and extended, within the last couple days, gets rid of that word particularity. Yes. They can just kind of say, we're kind of looking for this. And what it does is it requires, that word is really important in that the government can't go on fishing expeditions to just a giant net and grab a bunch of information, according to the Fourth Amendment. According to FISA, no big deal. And some of those amendments were meant not to necessarily put particularity back in there, but to give people who've been caught up in that net the information that they have, and therefore be able to sue.
Give them grounds.
Because the way you battle back against a bill like this, one, you vote the people out who voted in, or two, you sue them in court. People have tried to sue under this. They walk in, they say, I've been spied on. They go, prove it. Well, I can't get a hold of the information because it's secret. You're out. You have no standing. Nobody can sue because they're keeping even when they screw up, the information to themselves.
And all of the telecom industries are
immunity. So there's not going to be a civil liability, but I'm just talking about suing your government for spying on you.
Right.
Civil rights violation.
Some senators came out and tried to put amendments on the FISA.
One of them was Rand Paul.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Merkley, Leahy, and strangely enough, the one we agree with, and this does not happen often, Rand Paul, for attempting to add back in that specific word you're mentioning, Shane, particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. He is basically stating the obvious here, that FISA, as it stands, violates the Fourth Amendment.
And the thing is okay, let's say we can argue that. Some people say, no, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Who decides that? A court. Okay, let's go to court. You can't come to court. You don't have standing.
Yes.
So they're making an end run around this, and it's frustrating as heck because we have a suspicion that our Fourth Amendment rights are being violated, but since we can't say who, and we can't put that person in front of a judge to sue over it, we can't get that hearing in front of Article 3 court. Right.
And there were other good amendments, or that would have been good amendments, that mysteriously did not get 60 votes. The Merkley amendment, proposed amendment, was to basically prevent U.S. citizens from being spied on without their knowledge.
Right.
And to establish a process to review and declassify opinions. So what you're saying, Shane, put the information out there to give people grounds, which that's why they don't like it.
Right.
Because then people would have an ability to sue.
And if you read through the 2008 bill, there's all these requirements of reports and reports and reports. Okay, I'd like to see the reports. Sorry, they're classified.
Right. And then there was also the Wyden Amendment that basically also states no officer or employee of the United States may conduct a search of collection of communications acquired under this section in an effort to find communications of a particular United States person. So also trying to protect U.S. citizens from FISA. All of these mysteriously did not get 60 votes, or in other words...
Or not so mysteriously.
Right. Never got to be voted on to begin with. And the last...
But yet FISA was reauthorized for 5 years, and they'll say, we'll look at it later. No,
exactly.
You won't.
No, they won't.
You won't.
No, they won't.
Pass this bailout of the banks. We swear we'll regulate later. No, you won't.
And the last one, and of course very important to us in radio.
And everyone listening.
Is FCC consolidation. Not only was this not covered, but I think there's some degree of people not feeling comfortable covering it in media. Just my opinion.
Or the owners of media not wanting it to be covered because they love... Consolidation is great for big corporations, really bad for people.
Yes. Democracy Now!, however, did talk about this and bring it to the limelight. They in their quick post, the Federal Communications Commission appears poised to push through relaxed media consolidation, basically eliminating the prohibitions on newspaper radio and TV radio cross-ownership, which essentially have already been eliminated de facto, but basically making it acceptable.
Right. Getting rid of the diversity of voices, diversity of ownership, so you have a single, I mean, this has been happening to a great extent already, but a single monolithic corporate voice booming from the sky and out of your contraptions and all of ours, so that the first four stories we just talked about never get out there.
Exactly. But that's why we're covering them here.
That's why our top 10s are different than everyone else's.
Exactly.
Dang it.
We've got lots of fun stuff coming up on this show. It's going to be a fun show, not so much seriousness that you often hear here. And we're going to be speaking with John Fugelsang and Lee Camp, great comedians, to add even more fun to the last Talking Left of 2012. We're going to be right back with the top conservative truths, if you can believe it. Don't go anywhere. This is Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano, and we'll be right back.
What kind of a crazy world is this?
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon.
Roger, Brandon.
His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems are go. We are clear for liftoff.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition.
And Cowboy,
Yes, ma'am.
you'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Some will miss school, some will miss time with their family and friends.
Princess, are you here?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for rescuing me from that evil witch.
Juliana wishes for a princess-themed room makeover.
That sounds magical.
But with your help, the Make-A-Wish Foundation can lift their spirits and give them a special kind of hope.
Pirate,
Yar!
you're up for Isaac's wish.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The wishes of thousands of children are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
My name is Joe Thompson. I'm 29 years old and I have a career that I love as a systems analyst. Career. It still sounds cool to say that word. I never could have gotten on this path without a college degree. And if the college me were here, he'd tell you.
I never would have gotten to college without big brothers, big sisters. I could have ended up anywhere, on the streets even. But college? Joe Thompson? Not likely. My big brother helped me out. He taught me I could do anything. at a time when a lot of people were saying just the opposite.
And to a 7-year-old, that means a lot. My big brother's name is Phil. And Phil is the reason that this 7-year-old grows up to be a systems analyst.
Whether you donate money or time, you're helping Big Brothers Big Sisters help a child. And that can last a lifetime. Start something today at BigBrothersBigSisters.org. Brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Brad Friedman, your friendly citizen investigative blogger, journalist, troublemaker, muckraker, and all-around swell fellow from BradBlog.com. Join me for the Bradcast every Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. 1 hour of troublemaking and muckraking ripped from the pages of BradBlog.com and sometimes from the dark recesses of my mind. We'll have investigative interviews with newsmakers, we'll call out the liars, frauds, and phonies, and we'll even give kudos to the good guys if we can find any. Stories you won't hear anywhere else. We'll report on politics, elections, election reform, mainstream corporate media failure, media reform, global warming denialism, and everything before, during, and after. Join me for the Bradcast every Wednesday, now a full hour, 3 to 4 p.m., right here on Pacifica Radio's KPFK and coast to coast and around the globe on kpfk.org.
Hank Action News is proud to be sponsored by Healthcare for America Now. HCAN is a national coalition of more than 1,000 groups in 50 states, representing 30 million people. HCAN works to promote, defend, implement, and improve the Affordable Care Act at both the state and federal levels. They also try to protect Medicare and Medicaid, increase corporate accountability, and confront forces that seek to take away critical services. HCAN believes in creating jobs, not cutting programs people depend on. HCAN runs comprehensive issue campaigns that mobilize people at the grassroots and define the public debate. HCAN is fighting to protect, implement, and improve the new health care law through national and state-based legislative and regulatory campaigns built on grassroots action, public education, communications, policy analysis, and groundbreaking research. HCAN has become a respected voice and national leader on health care while continuing to focus on aggressive field activity. Support HCAN, Healthcare for America Now.
Are you reeling in the years? Stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine?
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. Thank you wherever you're checking us out. SoFloRadio.com, RadioOrNot.com, We Act Radio, 1480 AM, WPWC in Washington, D.C., or perhaps on our home sweet home at TalkingLeft.com.
And Progressive Blend Radio.
Yes. Well,
yes.
The whole show or just the segments?
No, the embed.
Oh, awesome. Progressive Blend Radio.
Yeah.
And before the break, we were teasing the top conservative truths, times when Republicans have told the truth and it came back to bite them. We picked a few of our favorites, and we thought this might be a list that you may not hear everywhere else. Number 5, Newt Gingrich. His quote, while speaking to a crowd of 200 in Covington, Louisiana, "I challenge Governor Romney and his super PAC to pledge to take every negative ad about a Republican off the air because it dishonors them, it weakens the Republican Party, and it helps Barack Obama." Well, yes, Newt. And thank you very much to Governor Romney and the super PACs that refuse to do so. We appreciate it greatly here on the left. Number 4, Donald Trump. You have to love Donald Trump, who specifically said Paul Ryan's quote-unquote suicidal health care reform plan should never have been released. He should have made Obama bring out a plan first. And he went on to say that if they put up a stiff, I certainly would consider running. Basically, he knew Romney was not going to win. Again, thank you, Donald Trump. We appreciate it. And number 3, Newt Gingrich. Again, he made 2 out of 5. Good job, Newt.
Well, the thing is he has such a ginormous ego. If he isn't winning, if he isn't running, he's more than happy to throw bombs at other conservatives.
Yes.
Because he is the smartest conservative ever, according to him.
Well, what he said regarding Paul Ryan's health care plan.
Yeah, this was way back. This was before he was running. That
was pretty damn smart.
In the spring, right?
Yes.
On Meet the Press.
And I think Republicans' heads exploded everywhere when Newt Gingrich said, I don't think right-wing social engineering is any more desirable than left-wing social engineering. Well said, Newt. I don't think we could have said it better ourselves, except maybe calling Obamacare left-wing social engineering. But, yeah, I would definitely consider Paul Ryan's cuts to social programs
right-wing social engineering.
Yeah.
Or reverse engineering.
Reverse engineering, that's even better.
Deconstruction.
Yes. Number 2, a list of any Republicans wouldn't be complete without Ann Coulter. Do you have the audio of that one, Shane? In speaking at CPAC during 2012.
Sorry. Think about the playing field for the 2012 elections.
What I think about what?
The playing field for the 2012 elections.
I may as well tell you what my prediction is, because then you can either totally congratulate me or laugh at me 2 years from now. I don't like to attack Republicans. Many of them have excellent characteristics, and they're good in the positions they're in now, and I support them in their positions as representatives or governor or Fox News host. But I think, well, I'll put it in a nutshell. If we don't run Chris Christie, Romney will be the nominee and we'll lose.
Well,
how about that?
How about that?
Well done. We'll applaud you for that. Now, the funny thing is she's still right. And she's really mad at Chris Christie for buddying up with Obama.
Yes.
Over, actually getting relief to New Jersey residents after an awful hurricane really disrupted, in some cases, destroyed their lives.
Yes.
Back when he was a bully and a nasty conservative, he was wonderful.
Him. Yeah. Well, Ann Coulter would love a bully.
No
just
doubt.
saying. And our number 1 conservative truth for 2012, Rick Santorum, who, when speaking about Romney at a campaign event, specifically said, pick any other Republican in the country. He is the worst Republican to put up against Barack Obama.
Why would we put someone up who is uniquely, pick any other Republican in the country? He is the worst Republican in the country to put up against Barack Obama. Why would Wisconsin want to vote for someone like that?
Good point, Rick.
He wins.
He wins. Good point. Why would anybody want to vote for someone like that? And guess what? They didn't. So, lots more fun in store. Our own lists of 2012 right here on Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shano, and great guests, John Fugelsang and Lee Camp, coming up on this show. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I've seen the show. It's excellent.
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
At long last, our dream has come true, freeing us from a drudgery that has oppressed so many people over the past 500 years, namely, having to use our hands to open a bottle of wine. Yes, the electric corkscrew is here, and just in the nick of time for that fabulous New Year's Eve party you're throwing. Not just one high-tech cork puller is offered, but an entire bazaar of wine-opening gizmos is available from such enterprising purveyors of completely unnecessary convenience as Epicureanist, Metrocane, Oster, Ozeri, Waring, and Wine Enthusiast. New York Times writer William Grimes describes the devices as sublime pointlessness. He has a point there, since popping a cork is not one of life's great burdens, since beaucoup super cheap, super simple extractors have long existed. These manual tools are not merely low-tech, they're no-tech. Even drunk people can use them. But where's the pizzazz in those? As Grimes describes the zippy battery-powered cork gadgets, one places the cylindrical device atop a wine bottle's cork, presses a button, and with a hum or a whir, the corkscrew spiral, known as a worm, insinuates itself into the cork, easing it upward and out of the bottle. This is showbiz, baby! And one-upsmanship, too, for you're quietly saying to bedazzled guests, "Hey, I've got one of these and you don't." However, if you want to counter such smugness, here's a free tip. Many good wines now come with twist-off screw caps, so bring one of those, and you'll be sipping your wine while Electronic Man is still trying to position his worm. This is Jim Hightower saying, does anyone really need this stuff? Of course not. Zillions of them will end up in landfills in a year's time. To wean yourself and others from such excess, check out Annie Leonard's website at storyofstuff.org.
If you like these feisty pops of populism that Hightower zings out on the airwaves, check out the Hightower Lowdown. Jim's monthly newsletter provides the in-depth lowdown on what the greed heads of Wall Street and the boneheads of Washington are doing to us behind the scenes. With Hightower's saucy Texas humor and truth-telling populist perspective, the lowdown literally can lift you up. And get this, you can have the lowdown delivered to your mailbox or email each month for only $15 a year. Yes, 12 issues, only $15. Check it out, hightowerlowdown.org.
You're listening to WIN, the Workers' Independent News Service. I'm Jesse Russell. Hobby Lobby plans to continue to deny employees emergency contraception. Hobby Lobby had sought to bring the mandate to the Supreme Court, but the court turned down the option of hearing it. In a statement, the Craft and Hobby store said they'd risk paying fines instead of complying with the law. That means the company could face upwards of $1.3 million in fines per day. In their statement, the company said the emergency contraception is an abortion-inducing drug, which is a misrepresentation of what the drug actually does. The drug delays ovulation, denying sperm the opportunity to penetrate the egg. Hobby Lobby's owners sued and argued that the mandate was a violation of their religious views. A U.S. District Court judge said that because Hobby Lobby is a secular, for-profit business and not a religious organization, it didn't meet the standard for religious exemption. A strike along the eastern Gulf Coast has been delayed due to a 30-day extension agreement between dock workers and port operators. A strike along the coast would have impacted 40% of container traffic in the United States, shutting down 14 ports from Boston to Houston. According to federal mediators, a tentative agreement had been reached regarding the issue of container royalties. However, specifics of the bargain weren't available on Friday. The 30-day extension gives the International Longshoremen's Association and the U.S. Maritime Alliance an extra month to hash out any remaining issues. Overall, currently employed workers are optimistic about their prospects in 2013. 50% of those surveyed by human resources firm Randstad foresee receiving a raise. 47% believe their employers will be hiring more employees in the new year, which is up from 40% in 2012. 30% believe they'll receive a promotion. Regarding concerns of continued employment, only 15% are worried about losing their jobs in 2013, while only 16% think they'll have their wages cut. That's a substantial decline from the previous year, when 24% expected to see their wages decline. Overall, workers are planning to stay at their current employers, with only 47% planning to seek out other job options. According to a survey from Graduate School USA, 68% of federal workers said they don't feel that their work is appreciated by Congress, but 59% said they feel that President Barack Obama does appreciate their work. A majority are satisfied with how they are treated by leadership within their agencies, with 74% expressing that they receive the support they need. Federal workers also believe more could be done to boost public perception of their jobs. 52% of those workers surveyed said they felt the general public had a negative impression of federal workers.
You've been listening to WIN, the Workers' Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
It takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. And at the end of the day, the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be you. So United Way is asking you to make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because when a child advances, we all advance. Be a reader. tutor, or mentor. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge now at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano, live on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, WPWC in Washington, D.C., as well as SoFlo Radio, radioornot.com, Progressive Blend, and, of course, TalkingLeft.com. Or thank you if you're checking out the podcast on iTunes for free or the video podcast on YouTube.
Because it is a little early on Sundays to be getting up.
Yes. Yes. We appreciate everybody who downloads and subscribes as well. So
we're going to have, I think, a list of the lists we don't get to today.
Yes, because we've already ran out of time. One's already been scratched off. And
Actually, maybe we'll post them.
Yeah, that's a
and
good
then
idea.
people can put comments on the ones they'd add to it, because we have some different kinds of ones than the top 10 quotes. I mean, I enjoy seeing the top 10 quotes of the year.
I have them printed out, over here, specifically because John Fugelsang was number 7.
Yes, he was.
Well, John Fugelsang's interview.
Elicited.
Yes.
Number 7.
Was number 7.
But it's fun. We were watching them, and we could actually anticipate their answers before they came out on some of the shows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it was like watching an awards show when you knew
what was in the envelopes.
Exactly. Yeah, we're like, and the number one, 47%. 47%. Guess
Biggest
what?
game changer of the year.
47%.
Biggest loser, Carl.
Yeah. Exactly.
Worst prediction.
Although
we're gonna have one of them.
Although the blueberry pie was hilarious.
Blueberry pie was awesome. Just the name of the award. I like the interesting awards.
Yes.
You know, it's I think McLaughlin does some of the best of this. He dresses up in these crazy tuxedos with red plaid and over on public broadcast.
Yeah, where does one get a red plaid tuxedo?
In John McLaughlin's closet.
Good to know. Good to know. Should I ever have the need for one, I now know where to find it.
There you go.
Thank you, John McLaughlin.
Wrong!
So one of our, shall we say, boo-boo type segments.
Which list are you doing now?
Top Republican political backfires.
How'd you narrow it down?
Well, really, these are just lists of my favorites. I don't know. They could definitely be debatable, even among Democrats. But here are my favorites. Number 5. There's only 5 of these because 10 is just too damn long. 5, Paul Ryan. Period. Paul Ryan's ratings were less positive than any other VP since 2000. He was less favorable than Sarah Palin. That's pretty awesome. I mean, that is just spectacular.
And yeah, he there's this big ooh yay, and then he gave a speech and go hide him.
Yeah,
Hide
exactly.
him.
It was the VP candidate that just disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, no campaign events for you.
Yeah, just go talk to the crazies in Wyoming and Texas and go hang out with Dick Cheney. And don't give any interviews. And if you do, make sure you get really angry and leave every single one of them.
Well, but all the talk from the Republicans was that it's the economy, stupid. The national debt clock.
So they got someone who was stupid about the economy.
Exactly. The national debt clock at the convention, of course, next to the sign that said you didn't build that, which was awesome. But all this talk about the economy, that they were praising the choice of Paul Ryan because he was the budget guy.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the American people did
The same
not
crazies
think
are
so.
saying that they're floating the name of Paul Ryan for Speaker of the House now.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Even among Republican voters, the Gallup poll results for Paul Ryan it came out in August after he was chosen, and this is before he said some of the stupider things during the campaign. Before his marathon speech, the RNC speech, etc., 42% considered it an unfavorable or poor choice. 42%. 39% said pretty good.
The thing is though, I don't think that you could find a majority of the Republican Party agreeing on anything. You're going to get a plurality in everything, and that's why you're seeing what's happening in the House right now.
Well,
40% is probably as high as you're going to get among Republicans for anything. Anything.
Yeah. Even Sarah Palin, 37%.
See, there you are, right at that 40% mark.
Yeah. So it was interesting. Paul Ryan, not a good choice. Great backfire on the part of Republicans.
Yeah.
Number 4, and it's still ongoing, Benghazi. Despite what Sean Hannity would have you believe, the majority of Americans don't care about Benghazi. Although
we care about what occurred in Benghazi.
Right.
We're not so concerned with turning it into Watergate and blaming, and we'd like it fixed, thank you.
And we everybody cares about the loss of lives, American or otherwise, or at least they should.
But when you turn it into political propaganda every night with the same story over and over again, by just floating, isn't it possible that?
Yes.
Some think that.
Some saying.
They got to be covering up something, and we got to find out what
Hillary?
that is. Yeah, where's Hillary?
It's like,
we can use this to destroy our 2016 chances. Let's go.
Exactly. 54%
How many people can we take down?
54% of Americans disapprove of the White House's handlings, although that same 54% do not believe the administration misled at all. So in other news, Sean Hannity, you need a new talking point. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
His top 10 are Benghazi, 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 and Benghazi.
Yes. Sean Hannity's top 10
news stories of this year.
Yes. Well, number 9 was, where's Hillary?
Yeah, well, that's all part of it.
Number 3, campaign spending. Biggest backfire on the Republicans. What does $6 billion get you? That's how much the campaign spending between Republicans and Democrats amounted to. $6 billion.
That's a lot of money.
And what did it get them?
Ted Cruz.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Biggest backfire was all the money spent during the Republican campaign. Sure didn't buy them a candidate. Actually lost them seats in the Senate and should have lost them seats in the House.
I wish the money.
Good job,
I wish the
Republicans.
money multiplier were really high on that, because that could really spur some economic growth.
Yes, certainly could.
That's the kind of income redistribution
What could
we
anybody?
need.
What could the 99% do with $6 billion? I would stand to say a lot.
Right.
Number 2, the second biggest political backfire of the year, and this will give you an indication of how big the number 1 one is. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's speech talking to an empty chair at the Republican National Convention, first of all, was awesome, and we all enjoyed it. But according to the poll, did not pan out well for Mr. Romney.
Among the public at large.
Among even the Republicans.
I thought the Republicans rated it higher than Romney's speech.
Well, would that have turned out? Exactly. That's the point. It turned out better than Mitt Romney's speech. It backfired and took away from Romney at the convention.
It did, because I guess we're news junkies, so we were watching the cable, but I guess in terms of the national, from what I've heard, that when you went to the networks, that was the first thing you saw instead of something else they had planned.
Yes, Mitt Romney did a video that was aired at the convention.
Prepackaged is perfect for him.
Well, but it was supposed to bring his personal side to the voters. Yes, his family
his
side.
prepackaged personal
exactly.
side.
Make him more in touch with the quote-unquote 47%. And instead...
I'm Mitt Romney, and I approve this message.
Yes. Instead, viewers saw Clint Eastwood talking to an empty chair. 20% of Republican viewers rated Eastwood's bizarre speech as the highlight of the Republican National Convention, and only 17% named Romney's acceptance speech. Yes, an empty chair rates higher than your candidate. Thank you, Clint Eastwood.
Can you remember anything from Mitt Romney's acceptance speech?
No. I can remember Clint Eastwood's talking to a chair.
Right.
I can't tell him to do that to himself.
Yeah.
Which actually did make the top 10 quotes, by the way. Yes.
Oh. I do actually remember, because he had the 5 things.
Oh, that's
the
right.
5 thingies, which were all the same thingy. Lower taxes and less regulation.
Yeah.
Just in different places.
Pretty much.
Defense, education. And then he had a miscellaneous category of everything.
The number 1, Shane, the number one Republican backfire of 2012, and perhaps maybe even 2011, because I think they started it pretty early. Are you ready? Voter suppression. Worked out awesome for the Republicans, didn't it? All those voter ID laws, limiting hours, closing voting locations, challenging voters, taking people off the rolls, assigning them to different precincts. It worked out well, didn't it?
No. And I don't often do this, but I think we said it here. It's everyone's talking about it, but it was a thing. It was a Saturday morning, and I was thinking about social psychology, and we talked about it on this show way back, saying you can imagine, because the harder it is to get into a group, the more people want into it. That's why fraternities have hazing. That's why the military has boot camp. People want to be part of a group that's harder to get into. That social psychology took hold. If you try to take something from somebody, they want it more, and it really woke a sleeping giant. And everyone said, you aren't taking my right to vote. I'm going to vote twice.
Ask any parent in the world, especially in America, tell your kid they can't do something.
Or they can't have something.
Right. What do they want? What do they want to do? Exactly what you told them they can't do. It's basic human instinct. So the Republicans tried to suppress Democratic voting all over the country. And the result they got was the greatest turnout of African-American voters ever in history. They tried to take the vote away.
And we were pointing that out specifically because we have a former Republican leader of the Republican Party down in Florida who said the reason we did this, he did this in the deposition, the reason the Republicans did this was to suppress the African-American vote.
That worked out great.
So we know, we've been speculating forever, and I think quite well and wisely that those are the types of groups they're going after. But they specifically said they are, and it didn't work based on that statistic.
So despite long lines, up to 9 hours in Florida for voting, confusion as to which polling places, confusion as to whether or not someone was required to show an ID, and many thousands, if not more, people forced to cast provisional ballots. All of the Republicans' efforts, according to Alternate, greatest turnout of black voters ever. Good job, Republicans. Great job on that. I would say keep that up and see how it turns out for 2016.
Or we can just get some nice legislation in place, like I think it's Dianne Feinstein has put forward, about the number of hours in machines versus the number of people voting.
Well, that's going to play into our short segment we're going to have here in just a few minutes. Both of our predictions for 2013, and yours, I know, has something to do with that.
Really? I thought we were doing predictions at the very end.
Well,
you just took the outline and threw it out the window, threw it down the stairs wherever it fell.
No. I got the outline right here. You have it in front of you.
It's your world. I just produce in it.
I'm so glad I printed you that copy. Oh, wow. Yes, it has been an interesting year. Thank goodness for these Republican backfires, or we could be having a very different show right now.
Yeah, I could have one like the Wall Street Journal editorial report had that we watched this morning.
Oh, yeah. That's a great way to wake up, by the way, at 5:30 in the morning.
It was like I record it. I record that at Fox News Watch. Everyone knows.
That's jaw-dropping.
And their best news of the year, their highlight was the fact that we're going to be the number one exporter of oil in a couple of years. That was they're living in a different world.
Yeah, how does that play out with the fact that they constantly say Obama's limiting oil production?
It doesn't.
I'm just wondering.
They don't have to be internally congruent. They just have to be pro-business.
Ah, okay. Got it. Good to know. Oh, wow. What are we going to do? We're going to come back with our predictions of 2013. And feel free to tell us we're right, tell us we're wrong.
Add your own.
Give us any predictions you want to share. We'll be checking Twitter. You can follow me at LeftNeckChick, and I will be checking them and reading any we get on the air. So don't go anywhere. This is Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano, and we will be right back with more and great guests coming up soon. Stick around.
Hey, it's Hal Sparks from the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide, and this is Talking Left.
you living in a progressive talk void? If so, be sure to visit leftwingradiostations.com. The state-by-state listing is a quick and easy way to find any left-wing talk radio station across America, from sea to shining sea. Your progressive talk nirvana is only a click away at leftwingradiostations.com. Be sure to like Left Wing Radio Stations on Facebook and share it with your friends. leftwingradiostations.com. United we stand.
Hi, this is Brad Friedman, your friendly citizen investigative blogger, journalist, troublemaker, muckraker, and all-around swell fellow from bradblog.com. Join me for the Bradcast every Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. 1 hour of troublemaking and muckraking ripped from the pages of bradblog.com and sometimes from the dark recesses of my mind. We'll have investigative interviews with newsmakers, we'll call out the liars, frauds, and phonies, and we'll even give kudos to the good guys if we can find any. Stories you won't hear anywhere else. We'll report on politics, elections, election reform, mainstream corporate media failure, media reform, global warming denialism, and everything before, during, and after. Join me for the Bradcast every Wednesday, now a full hour, 3 to 4 p.m. right here on Pacifica Radio's KPFK and coast to coast and around the globe on kpfk.org.
This is Stephanie Miller.
Hi, this is Tom Hartman.
Hello, everybody. I'm David Schuster of Take Action News.
I'm Brad Friedman of bradblog.com.
Hi, I'm cartoonist and agent provocateur P.S. Mueller.
This is Nicole Bell of crooksandliars.com, and this is...
You're listening to
and watching
Filter Free Radio.
Filter Free Radio.
Filter Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Jacob Dean.
With Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
You can't have for-profit programming in the public good. That's a contradiction. Because realistically, if it's for the public good, then it can't also be for-profit. That's sort of the notion of why we need more PBS and NPR and nonprofit co-ops and whatever you can find in terms of nonprofit media. It's sort of what we're doing here. And, there's no real reason to make money off this, because if we did, it would really conflict with what we're saying.
FilterFreeRadio.com.
Arr, you mateys. Welcome to the ocean. I've sailed the seven seas 100 times and found something I like even more than me treasure. 'Tis the ocean, beautiful and clear. Right now I be sailing over the Great Barrier Reef. It just shivers me timbers thinking of all the fish and coral below me. Wait, what's that floating by? The plastic bag! By Blackbeard's eye patch, that's disgusting. Why did you know that many of these things come from folks throwing them carelessly on the ground? It be true. Lend us a hand by always recycling and disposing of your trash properly. Boys, get the plank ready. Somebody's got to dive in and get that bag. Any volunteers? All right, fine. I'll do it myself. Cannonball! Find out what you can do to help keep the oceans healthy at keepoceansclean.org. Brought to you by the Keep Oceans Clean Alliance and the Ad Council.
SoFloRadio.com remains on the air with free archives thanks to the support of our listeners. Help keep us on the air by clicking the donate button on SoFloRadio.com. And thank you for your generous support.
A long December, and there's reason to believe maybe this year will be better than the last. Can't remember.
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. We've been having a little fun at the expense of Republicans this hour, and we are going to talk.
We actually extended an offer, and we're going to actually have him on in the coming weeks. Some conservatives to debate, to get their perspective. So we did extend an offer to actually have one of our conservative friends on to talk about their bests. Worsts of the year. So we may do that actually next week in the first episode of 2013.
And we have lots of positive stuff. We're not just going to make fun of Republicans all day, although it is one of our favorite pastimes. We have lists of great activists, great activism stories, and we will be continuing to take your suggestions, your quotes, whatever you want to include. This is the year that progressive media has welcomed us into the family, and we are going to, in turn, welcome you. So feel free to mention to us on Twitter, on Facebook, or in the chat over at radioornot.com. and we'll share your suggestions, your thoughts with the world as well. So, Shane, I have a prediction written down that you told me yesterday.
Yes.
Your prediction for 2013.
My prediction for 2013 is, because, I cover the Supreme Court, so I figured I'd keep it there. We're going to have some good news stories, I swear.
Yes, we are.
I'm concerned that there's quite a few cases before the Supreme Court. One's already been argued. 3 are coming up. I'm worried about some decisions that are going to be chipping away at equality rights. One, the one I'm pretty sure of, and I actually talked about this on David Schuster's show, Take Action News, right after the argument, that when it comes to admissions to college, that they'll not be able to consider race at all. So affirmative action will be gone, I believe. What concerns me is that they're going to have a similar argument about the Voting Rights Act. Essentially, I think the Supreme Court is saying these are all antiquated, we're all equal now, yeah, see you later. And I don't know how it will translate. Of course, the arguments haven't happened yet when it comes to marriage equality, but just based on who's sitting on that bench, it worries me. I think the most likely outcome is they'll kick it back to the states and say, states, you can discriminate if you want to, which is, in my opinion, a loss. I wish they would apply the 14th Amendment and say everybody's equal, no matter who you fall in love with. We'll see what happens. This is just a prediction, but I'm concerned about the erosion of civil rights, civil liberties, etc.
Well, in response to that, because I wish I could disagree, but I think, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court, you have an insight, and you definitely have access to hearing those arguments that many people don't get to hear.
Thank you, Ellen Ratner.
In response, though, I think my prediction of 2013 is because of that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a year, if not more, of more activism, more protests, of more strikes, of more people fighting together for which way they want this country to move. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really progressive and really positive change that is going to be the biggest force in shaping our future. I think we're going to see activism like we haven't seen in this country since Vietnam. And I think it's going to finally inspire some change. I think Occupy is going to look small compared to what we're going to see this year.
Yeah, we've already seen this past year, and we'll be talking about it, a real uptick in terms of workers asserting their rights, striking,
right,
making demands that are difficult to get, especially in a high unemployment economy, but just, basic living wages and things like that.
I think people have had enough, and the overreach.
It's actually impossible to live for a lot of people, even working 2-3 jobs.
But the overreach has already gone too far, and people are already furious. And when you add decisions like you're referring to, that potentially loss of civil rights, I think it's only going to awake the sleeping giant anymore. They have stirred the sleeping giant with trying to suppress voting rights, with giving corporations the right of people.
But for
they
so
have not
long,
seen anything yet.
You have the powerful interest saying, in imbuing in people this feeling that there's nothing I can do. I'm just one person. But we've watched, as this year went on, how power in numbers really can affect change. So now that people have realized and are really feeling that a positive change can happen from making your voices heard, from voting, from running for office, from protesting, from striking, that more of that will occur as people want to fight back and have their voices heard.
Yeah,
and
I mean, look at
it works.
We're going to talk about them throughout this show in some of our activism stories. But look at Ohio, overturning the anti-union law, Michigan repealing the financial managers law at least once. I'm sure they can do it again. There are situations that people are watching that this power together is working, and I think we're going to see the beginning of that, like a generational change coming up this year. That's my prediction. So lots of the good stuff coming up now. Good media. We feel like everybody focuses on the bad stuff. We're going to mention some of the best media responsible stories in 2012. Coming up next here on Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. Stick around. We'll be right back.
It's Thursday, December 20, 2012.
Ready, set, snow.
Snow is back. Blizzard brings winter back to the Midwest.
I am a firm believer that climate change is real, that it is impacted by human behavior.
Time's Person of the Year promises action on climate change. Can he finally deliver in the new year? The good news and the bad, the top environmental stories of the year. Plus,
some people would have us believe that on the 21st of December 2012, the ancient Mayans had predicted that a cataclysmic event would occur, destroying the whole world.
It's the end of the Mayan apocalypse myth as we know it.
Says you. All of that and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for what may be your last 6 minutes ever of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
The new Stupid America, that should have been Man of the Year.
No rush, you weren't even in the running. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Des, you call the Mayan prediction of the coming end of the world a myth, but could these people have survived for so many millennia to this day if they didn't know what the hell they were talking about?
Except they didn't.
Oh, yeah. Press on.
Well, first, we've got a quick rundown of some of the year's top environmental stories. It was a record bad year by any measure. Record heat waves, record drought, record wildfires, and record storms, like Superstorm Sandy here in the U.S. and around the world. Plus, the record Arctic ice melt this summer. And don't forget the record melt on the surface of the Greenland ice sheet. Plus, all the scientific warnings that we're reaching a dangerous tipping point with the climate, on top of the lack of action at the UN Climate Summit to reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases. But there was lots of good news on the list, too. To name just a few, Australia implemented a nationwide carbon tax on their biggest industrial polluters. And Australia did not collapse into a Mad Max hellscape.
Yet.
Millions of acres of new undersea marine reserves were set aside as sanctuaries worldwide. 2012 had fewer billion-dollar weather disasters than record-breaking 2011.
See, global warming is over. Proof. You can't deny it, Des.
Renewable energy continued to be the fastest-growing job sector in the U.S., while Germany smashed the world record when it produced 50% of its electricity from solar power alone in May. And the clean energy economy continues to explode worldwide. We've got lots more good news at our website, greennews.bradblog.com.
And with the Germans producing 50% of their energy from solar in a year where clearly global warming has ended, it's obvious that Germany has made a cleaner, better world for nothing.
That's one way of looking at it. Some more potential good news for the climate.
I am a firm believer that climate change is real, that it is impacted by human behavior and carbon emissions. And as a consequence, I think we've got an obligation to future generations to do something about it.
That was President Obama in his first post-election press conference after winning re-election in November. Obama has been declared Time Magazine's Person of the Year for 2012 for his historic re-election. And in his interview with Time, which occurred prior to the Newtown school shootings, the president again promised to take action on climate change as one of his top 3 agenda items in his second term. So at least he's talking about it.
Yeah, he's good at talking about it.
And I got some groceries for the rest of the week because who knows how long we're going to be snowed in.
Some relief for the drought-stricken Midwest with a big blast of winter.
A massive snowstorm barrels across the country from the Rockies to the Midwest.
After last year's record warm winter that wasn't, a blizzard and winter storms are snarling traffic and airline travel just in time for the holidays.
More proof that global warming is over.
Yeah, no, not so much. But the headaches come with a silver lining.
You get to have a lot of fun in it, like building a snowman, having a snowball fight.
But more importantly, this storm is bringing much-needed moisture to the parched Midwest. It'll take quite a bit more to climb out of the record drought, still gripping 60% of the country, but it's better than nothing, which is what we got last year. Finally, Friday marks the end of the Mayan long calendar and hopefully the end of all the hype over the fake Mayan apocalypse. Mayan scholars and scientists the world over have spent the last several years with the annoying task of patiently explaining that the end of the long calendar is actually just the beginning of the next one. NASA was so confident that the world will not end on Friday, December 21st, that they released their December 22nd debunking video 2 weeks early.
Confident or just playing it safe since they knew no one would be able to see it after the world ended? Ooh. Otherwise, with all this good news in today's Green News Report, clearly it's another sign that the world is ending. Check out those stories and much more at our website, greennews.bradblog.com. We're going to be standing down from the Green News Report over the next couple of weeks, not just because the world is ending, but we hope you have safe, happy, and healthy holidays, whether the world ends or not.
We'll see you next year.
Maybe you will. From bradblog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. 6 o'clock TV hour, don't get caught in boards, hour, slice and burn, return, listen to yourself.
This is Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. We are proudly broadcasting live on We Act Radio, SoFlo Radio, RadioOrNot.com, Progressive Blend, or maybe you're checking out our home sweet home, TalkingLeft.com. Be sure to download the podcast for free at iTunes or check us out on YouTube.
And you can just right-click it on right on our page.
Yes, yes. Whichever is easiest for you. We
realized with Apple TV, you can pull it up on your Apple TV in podcast form or the YouTube.
Yes.
Kind of freaky.
It is really
a little
freaky.
freaky.
It is really freaky.
We're on TeeVee.
Yes, it might just be YouTube, but
hey,
yeah,
Young Turks.
that's true.
Think about it.
It's true.
Billion views.
Well, I think we're a little far behind that.
I know, but still, you have to respect what they have accomplished.
I am amazed at what they do.
They're awesome.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I think one of our top media was started by them in this next list. So I'll let you get to it.
Our top media was started by them?
One of them, the SOPA.
Oh, yes. Our top media story, we've been focusing on some bad stuff. We want to highlight...
Mocking the bad stuff.
Yes. We want to highlight some good organizations, people of 2012, especially people in the media. As for obvious reasons, that's an important subject to us. I think our number one good media story of the year was the SOPA blackout. January 18th, 2012, the internet goes on strike. It was the largest online protest in history, precipitated by Reddit.com, Wikipedia, and grassroots group. More than 1 billion people saw anti-SOPA messages on January 18th. That was the Stop Online Privacy Act, which essentially was censorship and monitoring of internet searches, downloads, etc. And 4 top 10 companies, 13 top 100 U.S. sites, 115,000 small and medium sites all participated in the strike. 50,000 sites blacked out all or part of their website. WordPress Network alone, 27,000 blackouts.
Radio Not was included in that.
Yes. Yes. Largest participants included Google, Reddit, Craigslist, Wikipedia, WordPress, Pinterest, Flickr, Amazon. 10 million petition signers.
Wow. And I like I was saying, the first place I heard it, and way before, was from Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks.
Yes.
They were shining a light on this really early.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for that.
It's just really amazing. 10 million petition signers. I wonder if any petition in the history of the world has gotten so many signers. 10 million?
fantastic.
Yeah. 3 million emails, 100,000 plus calls, and 8 million Wikipedia call lookups to Congress opposing PIPA and SOPA. There were 3 million plus tweets mentioning SOPA, PIPA, SOPA strike, blackout SOPA, and stop SOPA. 3 million. I think that was an amazing event, started, or at least where we heard it, the Young Turks, and it just shows what good media, what a company, an organization, a host, a program, a show, a channel can do by really caring about the people and inspiring people to act.
And it wasn't passed.
Yeah, it's awesome.
There you
go. We're doing this in a little bit of backwards order because we started with our number 1 story. But number 2, Candy Crowley, or Crowley, however it's pronounced.
I think it's Crowley, but I got Newton wrong, so.
Yeah.
Governor, if you want to reply quickly to this, please. I certainly do. I think it's interesting. The president just said something which is that on the day after the attack, he went to the Rose Garden and said that this was an act of terror. That's what I said. You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
I'm surprised that line did not make the top 10 quotes.
I think "Please Proceed, Governor" was in there. Was it in the top 10?
I don't believe it was, but I think it should have been. Candy Crowley, awesome job there, actually fact-checking on the spot and putting Mitt Romney in his place.
And to defend her, because she got a lot of flack, especially from the right on that. I don't even think she was trying to fact-check there. I think she was just trying, when you say yes it is, no it isn't, yes it is, no it isn't, yes it is, no it isn't, you want to kind of move on.
Yeah, she was trying to actually get a debate here, going.
And we should be talking about issues, not a fact that she knew for a fact was true.
She was there.
It was just kind of like, okay, let's move on.
Yes.
And that was her way of putting a period on that. And
Yeah, she took a lot of flack for it, and going up against the president and the nominee takes a lot of courage to step in there. And
you think of the number of times when you're even on a rant, you've done a lot of research, and I interject some kind of crazy question which really throws you off. And the thing is, you know the facts, but you had that moment of hesitation, like she didn't have it. She's bing, there it is.
Yes.
And that is awesome.
Yes.
If we could only have like real-time fact-checking all the way through. But we did have fact-checkers after.
Yes, we did, which brings us to our next good media. And this is kind of a lump of many websites, authors, writers, bloggers together. The number one we found most useful being Think Progress, but definitely included many more, Alternet, PolitiFact, Truth Out,
Crooks and Liars,
so many sites that kept the public informed. Yes, the contributor kept the public informed during the 2012 election, and
really got into the side of the Romney campaign, who decided they weren't going to let their campaign be run by facts checkers. Facts.
We're not gonna cower to fact checkers.
What do they know?
Those damn liberal bias facts. But yes, the fact checkers. How many articles did we see after every speech, debate, interview in which, some of them had great titles like 27 lies in 38 minutes, 38 lies in 43 minutes, that really highlighted how anti-factual certain members.
And the thing is that while the campaign said that they weren't going to pay attention to facts, the public was paying attention, and we had a lot of help. Thanks to these sites.
Yes.
And writers.
And last but definitely our favorite, independent media.
Yay! Because we did the FCC.
Yes. For stations like We Act, for SoFlo Radio, for Progressive Voices, Progressive Blend, Radio or Not, all of these great online and terrestrial stations throughout the country that are giving people a choice to listen to engage in, to hear what they want, despite the FCC consolidation we mentioned earlier. It's a service that is so vital to keeping our democracy strong, keeping people informed, letting them know that they're not alone in their beliefs. It's something that, you know.
And that speaking up in protesting and striking actually can have a positive impact, because when you see corporate media over and over and over again not covering things like protests against the war in Iraq, you think, oh, what am I going to do about it?
Right.
Well, it's being covered.
But when you have, you know, great independent media outlets like this, like We Act, a place where you often hear about Bradley Manning, somebody you hardly hear mentioned in the mainstream press.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have all of these vital sources for progressive news. Despite all the odds against them, they are there, they are fighting, they are strong, and they're not going anywhere.
Amen.
So those are our heroes for 2012 in the good media section. Wow, we have so much more in store. There's lists and lists that we're not even getting to just because we're having so much fun with the ones we're sharing.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll write them up.
Yes, we have a really fun one next.
What is it?
Top John Fugelsang tweets
Yay!
of 2012. He will be coming up in just a few minutes, so before we get to him, we're going to be talking about the best Fugelsang tweets of all year. Do you have one? Share it with us. We'll talk to you about it next. This is Talking Left with Danielle and Shano. We'll be right back.
It reflects the drama of the human experience, and isn't that the essence of art?
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
My name is Joe Thompson. I'm 29 years old and I have a career that I love as a systems analyst. Career. It still sounds cool to say that word. I never could have gotten on this path without a college degree. And if the college me were here, he'd tell you.
I never would have gotten to college without big brothers, big sisters. I could have ended up anywhere, on the streets even. But college? Joe Thompson? Not likely. My big brother helped me out. He taught me I could do anything, at a time when a lot of people were saying just the opposite.
And to a 7-year-old, that means a lot. My big brother's name is Phil. And Phil is the reason that this 7-year-old grows up to be a systems analyst.
Whether you donate money or time, you're helping Big Brothers Big Sisters help a child. And that can last a lifetime. Start something today at BigBrothersBigSisters.org. Brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Ad Council.
Breast health awareness is critical for all women, particularly African Americans, because we have an increased risk of dying from breast cancer compared to women of other backgrounds. At U of M, I'm doing research here and with women in Ghana to look for an inherited link that makes African and African American women susceptible to a more aggressive type of cancer. Finding this link, I believe, will make new treatments possible. But right now, making sure that you are properly screened is our best protection.
With experts like Dr. Lisa Newman, the University of Michigan Health System is a leader in cancer care. When you call our free Cancer Answer line at 800-865-1125, an oncology nurse will answer any questions you might have about the prevention, screening, and treatment of breast cancer and other forms of cancer. All calls are confidential. Call 800-865-1125 or visit uofmhealth.org/cancer answer line.
We're working to help everyone enjoy longer, healthier lives.
That's the Michigan difference.
Hey there, Matthew Filipovich here, host of the creatively titled Matthew Filipovich Show, which, by the way, you can hear every single Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on 1480 a.m. We Act Radio. Now, I'm going to be honest with you people. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I like talking to smart people who are smarter than me, some of the smartest, funniest, most badass progressives out there. People like Glenn Greenwald, Naomi Klein, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, Jamie Kilstein, Allison Kilkenny, Alan Grayson, Jeremy Scahill, Jim Hightower, and more. That's right, I said more. Don't believe me? Well, tune in to the Matthew Filipovich Show every single Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. for some of the best in liberal talk, news, comedy, and interviews right here on 1480 AM We Act Radio.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at We Act Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. In just a few minutes, we are going to be speaking with the one, the only John Fugelsang, of course, johnfugelsang.com, of the Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour, of his wonderful one-man show, Guilt, A Love Story. I always want to say Greed, A Love Story. I don't know why. And I've even seen it. It's a phenomenal show. Many people who love John follow him on Twitter, as we do. And I think he is probably the best tweeter of any out there. So we wanted to cover a few of his tweets that we thought really, really highlighted some great points of 2012. Number 5, John tweeted back on February 28th. If God didn't like gay people, cannabis plants, or Mexicans, he'd stop creating such great quantities of all three. Shane, you're laughing there, but nobody can hear you.
It's because I'm pulling up bumper music.
Yes.
But it was hard actually going through.
Yes.
And like, you know.
He's got so many good ones.
Prolific.
Yes.
Like I've said over and over again, my brother, the only reason he's on Twitter is to follow John's tweets.
Right. There are ones that may be even funnier, but I thought these were specific to big events that happened throughout the year.
Yeah.
So that's why they were important to me. Number 4, in honor of Obamacare's birthday, this was March 24th when Obamacare turned 1 year old.
Yep.
In honor of Obamacare's birthday, I'm calling Medicare LBJ Care, Social Security FDR Care, and tax cuts for millionaires W Care. I think that's so well said, and I think we really should start using those terms.
W Care.
W Care. Yeah.
Well, they're fighting over W Care right now.
Yes, they are. I mean, they call all the social programs welfare, so corporate welfare, W Care, works for me. Number 3, and this is one I think everybody gets frustrated with about the anti-government establishment. Letting politicians who hate government run the government is like letting Michael Vick run PETA. Yes. Why do you want to run the government if you're so insistent on making it so small you can drown it in a bathtub?
Yeah. It's the old Bill Cosby thing. If your wife asks you to put the groceries away, do it really badly and she won't ask you again.
Yes, but they keep asking for us to let them put them away again.
The problem is that people keep letting them.
Yes.
Well, it's gerrymandering and money, but
yes,
that's a whole other show.
Yeah. Number 2, and this I think we highlighted on the show previously because it was one of our favorites back in July. Mitt Romney may be hiding his financial records, but I prefer to say he's concealing his birth certificate. All of the hoopla about Obama's birth certificate, of course, John, in his brilliant way, turned it around on Mitt Romney, his taxes being his birth certificate.
I was hoping that would catch on big time.
Actually, when I Googled it, looking for the date he tweeted that, it did catch on after he tweeted it. So, of course, nobody credited him, but we did here. And a very recent one just from a couple days ago, in response to Sandy Hook and the NRA's response, Number one on our list from December 28th is 2013 is when the NRA accuses Obama of sneaking the words well-regulated into the Second Amendment. That is so cheesy.
Oh, I got worse.
Yes. I'm waiting for that one. Because as much as he says it as a joke, I can totally hear them saying it.
Sure. And Rand Paul's trying to sneak particularity into the Fourth Amendment.
Damn him.
Damn him.
Damn him. We are going to run to a break early to make sure we are back right in time for Mr. John Fugelsang. He will be coming up right here next on Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shano. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So, who is responsible for these outrages?
It's Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
What about entitlements? The Medicare Trust Fund and stories that have come out over the weekend is now going to be depleted by
20. How ironic. Fracking recently got fracked. This brutish technique for extracting natural gas from deep within the earth, led by such profiteering giants as ExxonMobil and Halliburton, has rapidly swept across America. Indeed, it has run right over local residents who've had their air and water polluted, their families sickened, and their own economic futures imperiled. As usual, the frackers poo-pooed the concerns of these bothersome citizens, insisting that the process is perfectly safe, doing no damage to people or the environment. Their assertion of purity was bolstered several months ago by an academic research report issued by the prestigious Energy Institute at the University of Texas. In a summary of the white papers that made up the report, lead researcher Charles Grote declared that the scientists found little or no evidence of damage to groundwater. So there you have it, an academic acquittal of fracking. Well, not quite. A watchdog group called Public Accountability Initiative popped up with a revelation that Professor Grote held some $1.7 million worth of stock in a gas fracking corporation, served on its board, and was paid $400,000 by it as the report was being assembled. This forced UT to announce that a 3-member panel would investigate, a ploy that many critics feared would be a whitewash. No such luck for Grote, however. Using blunt terms like distortion, inappropriately selective, and very poor judgment, the panel excoriated the professor and the university, concluding that the hoked-up report should be withdrawn. The panel's findings were, as the watchdog put it, a damning critique. So damning that UT has since withdrawn the report. Grote was compelled to retire, and the head of the Energy Institute has resigned. This is Jim Hightower saying, now that's a thorough frack job.
Need an antidote to the progressive blues? Want some good news about how grassroots folks are rebelling against the corporate powers and winning? Well, here's an easy-to-swallow pill for you, the Hightower Lowdown. Hightower's monthly newsletter will give you the lowdown, even as it lifts you up. It's 4 pages a month, jam-packed with facts you can use, actions you can take, and Jim's own Texas humor, all for only $15 a year. To become a lowdowner, go to hightowerlowdown.org.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News, a production of Diversified Media Enterprises. I'm Doug Cunningham. The Chicago Teachers Union is suing Chicago Public Schools in federal court, alleging racial discrimination in the termination of tenured teachers. More than half of 347 tenured teachers who lost their jobs in Chicago are African American. African Americans make up just 30% of the overall teaching staff in Chicago public schools, according to the union. The CTU suit says the process for picking schools for turnaround results in schools with high percentages of African American teachers being targeted. The racial discrimination complaint was first filed with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in the summer. The suit is a potential class action that challenges the school district's turnaround policies involving 10 South and West Side Chicago schools. The union says when schools are selected for turnaround, all the teachers in the schools are terminated. Some of these schools are turned over to the Private Academy for Urban School Leadership, which means the end of labor contracts, and the schools are no longer subject to Chicago public school policies and rules. The AFL-CIO is calling on President Obama to come forward now with a plan for the fiscal cliff that truly reflects the reasons he won re-election. The Labor Federation says in the wake of GOP House Speaker John Boehner's Plan B failure, Obama ought to take Social Security cuts and the cost of living formula off the table to pay for tax cuts for the rich. The AFL-CIO says the president and the Democrats in the Senate have the backing of millions of working people tired of being held hostage by right-wing Republicans. The AFL-CIO is urging people to contact lawmakers and the president, urging no cuts in Social Security and Medicare and an end to the tax breaks for the rich. President Obama is calling on the U.S. Maritime Alliance and the International Longshoremen's Association to reach agreement as soon as possible to avert a possible strike at East Coast and Gulf docks. The Maritime Alliance is trying to force workers to give back compensation they get in the form of shipping container fees. Wages and payments to the Union Health Care Fund are also at issue. A group of retail businesses, the National Retail Federation, has called on the president to intervene to prevent a strike that could come when the current labor contract expires at midnight Saturday. The White House says Obama is monitoring the situation closely and urges the two sides to return to the bargaining table to work out an agreement. The new year will bring new raises for about 1 million low-wage workers. The minimum wage will go up in 10 states. Many states have adopted higher minimum wages than the federal wage of $7.25 an hour. Washington state has the highest minimum wage at $9.19 an hour. Other states raising their minimum wages in the new year include Arizona, Colorado, Vermont, Florida, Ohio, Oregon, Missouri, and Rhode Island. The federal minimum wage has no cost of living adjustment. 31 states follow the federal wage with no state minimum wage laws. The Economic Policy Institute says other low-wage workers also benefit whenever the minimum wage is raised. You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
Hey, Dad, how do you throw a curveball? How do you build a fort? How do refrigerators run? How do fish learn how to swim?
Kids ask a lot of questions.
How high can you jump?
But you don't have to know every answer.
How many phone numbers are there?
Because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent.
How do cell phones work?
There are thousands of children in foster care who don't need every question answered.
What's electricity?
They just need you.
What's the moon made of?
For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. And joining us on the phone is the one, the only, one of our favorite people in the universe, John Fugelsang. How you doing, John?
Happy New Year, kids. Great to be back on your show.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to you as well. For anybody who doesn't know, you can follow John on Twitter at John Fugelsang. We just shared some of your tweets, our favorite John Fugelsang tweets of 2012.
Oh, God. I steal everything from Jeff Foxworthy, so that explains all the truck references.
Yeah, sure. But it was very difficult to choose because you have quite a few brilliant ones. So it was like, it was how do I limit them?
Yeah, Worth Certificate made it, that's for sure.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I only steal from the best.
We wanted to get your opinion, John, on some of the most insane predictions we heard during 2012, and feel free to add your own in here if you think of any as well.
Yeah, I'm very curious about your list.
Yeah, we only have 4 here. We were looking for 5, but we figured we'd save one for you. Or really, we just couldn't think of 5.
Okay.
Number 4, Mike Turzai. Pennsylvania voter suppression will win the state for Romney. Shane, do you have the clip of that? He's pulling it up furiously right now. But I don't know if you remember that one, John, where
yeah, that was a very sane prediction in a way.
Yes, it was. Here it is.
Voter ID, which is going to allow Governor Romney to win the state of Pennsylvania. Done.
Yeah, so it was done, but didn't quite work out that well.
No, it didn't. But in fact, Pennsylvania is the real hero against any kind of rigged election. It was on Election Day itself when that guy in Pennsylvania went into the faulty electronic voting booth. Do you remember that video where every time you clicked Obama, it would light up for Mitt Romney? But if you clicked on Mitt Romney or any of the third-party candidates, your vote would stay the same? That video, that guy filmed it on his iPhone, and as the great comedian Rick Overton points out, iPhone is becoming Little Brother, and Little Brother is watching, and it's how we're going to stop Big Brother from doing stuff like this. By 12 noon on Election Day, the video of the rigged machine that automatically in Pennsylvania registered an Obama vote for Romney was all over the internet and was all over all network news. And once it had become that huge, you didn't hear any other complaints about voting machine regularities for the rest of the day. So I actually salute a different guy in Pennsylvania than that tool shed you just quoted, because I think that it was because some guy filmed his vote that it made it a lot harder for anybody else to rig a machine.
I think that's a great point, and I love the little brother versus big brother statement. And you just have to wonder, did he mean voter ID laws or rigged, election machines, voting machines that were going to win the state for Romney? Didn't work out so well.
He meant voter ID. He meant voter ID clearly from what he said, which is, just great, because how fantastic is it to hear that you can put up billboards telling black people that their vote might be illegal all over the country, and that doesn't discourage them from voting. It makes them even more encouraged. So I think it was a big victory against racism, too.
I could not agree more. Number 3, and there's so many from this person to choose from, but we had to pick one. Dick Morris. We're going to take back 10 seats in the Senate. That and among every other single thing that he said, which was wrong, which was pretty much everything he said.
And his got more and more crazy as it got closer to election, as he got more flamboyant about how the polls actually looked. He just freaked out.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that one, John?
Oh, listen, I think that Dick Morris, he might be the reason that Bob Dole didn't become president in 1996. But, anybody who takes Dick Morris seriously deserves exactly what karma gives them.
I think Shane has a friend that statement applies to so well.
Yeah, I have a good friend of the family who's very, very conservative, and he includes me on his email chains. And one of them was about how Mitt Romney's going to win because Dick Morris, this Democratic strategist, predicts it. And I wrote one of the few times I wrote back and explained who Dick Morris was and how often he's wrong. It wasn't brought up at Christmas dinner. No, it didn't make it. But.
Yeah, did not make for dinner conversation.
Please don't judge everybody who sucks a hooker's toes while talking to the president on the other line just by Dick Morris. Don't judge all of them by him.
Yeah, it's a big group. They'll definitely be advocating for some additional civil rights here next. They're next in line. Number 2, and this is a whole group. Romney will win the presidency. Dick Morris, George Will, Charles Krauthammer, John Kasich, John Boehner, Rush Limbaugh, and the list goes on. Thank goodness that prediction didn't turn out to be correct. Wouldn't you say?
They were very certain about it, weren't they? They were so sure that this thing was in the bag. It's kind of remarkable that Governor Romney, on election night itself, still had no idea. It's almost like they're completely out of touch with reality and the will of the American voter.
Yeah.
Or they had something up their sleeve, that card that didn't quite play.
Well, if you guys get really bored and want to get into some conspiracy theories, Google the anonymous announcement. In 2004 at 11:19 p.m. I believe, the whole mainframe for the election system went down and it had to reboot itself. The same exact thing happened this year. Anonymous announced beforehand that it was going to happen. They knew it was going to happen, and they were going to use that to put up a firewall to stop any software from being tampered with. It might just be a boastful claim, but the same mainframe went down at the same time this year. And all the voter irregularities weren't there. The president was reelected, and all these Republicans who've been so smugly certain that all the polls were wrong were, really, really... it was astonishing to watch. Seeing Karl Rove flip out like that on Fox News, it was like porn for moral people.
Yeah, exactly. We followed the anonymous story closely, just wondering if, any further evidence would come out about it. They did. Because
in that letter, they did say they were going to send it to someone who had a lot of time on his hands in a Ecuadorian embassy in England or something.
Yes, essentially Julian Assange.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose that could all still be happening. But the one thing, in trying to research whether or not that story had any weight to it, they have all these anon news sites that actually are supposedly from Anonymous. They're press releases and stories, and that one was not on the Anonymous websites. So it makes you wonder, was it just Joe Schmo wanting to mess with Karl Rove?
If you mess with Karl Rove, you could end up in prison. You just ask Don Siegelman. So
or
they
worse.
may be really, somewhat worried.
Karl Rove used to be president.
Pretty much. Well, and that whole story you just brought about the 2004 election, the computer, Karl Rove's quote-unquote computer guy mysteriously died in a plane crash before he was supposed to testify about those voting machine problems. So,
Shocking.
Prison would be a light possible result compared to that.
I couldn't agree more, but these are the sort of things that folks like us will never know as we go about in our dramas, ignorant of how the Rothschilds are really running the country.
No one says it quite like you, John.
Actually, this was the year I learned it's not the Rothschilds, and it's not the 1%, and it's not the Jews. It's babies. You can't say anything bad about babies. They control the media. That's what I learned this year.
Babies and puppies.
No, mainly babies. You can hate on puppies a bit, but having had a baby now and trying to joke about how awful they are because they're terrible people, they really are. Babies will abuse you and emotionally manipulate you, and they will hurt you physically, and you'll keep forgiving them because you think that's love. Babies are Chris Brown, and we're all Rihanna, so they actually run the whole thing.
That's good to know.
I digress. Sorry.
I'll keep that in mind, because I was so jumping at the chance to have kids before that it just further adds to the I almost said birth certificate, birth control for me.
Nice.
Yes. The four most insane are number one, and, this could end up being true, but it's so damn funny we just have to talk about it. Number one, Newt Gingrich, who states, by the end of his second term, we will have the first permanent base on the moon, and it will be American. Like, really? Really,
That was great. That was great stuff, yeah. Gingrich, I mean, God bless, he's like a less intelligent, less moral, less honest, less faithful, less liberal, less attractive, less healthy Nixon. And it was really, really beautiful. But, that was dropped right away, not unlike George W. Bush when he talked about building a Mars colony in a State of the Union address. And after the response was so poor, never mentioned it again for the rest of his administration.
Yeah, we in researching for this show, we watched an interview where many reporters are asking Gingrich about this comment, further wanting further details in it about it, and he can't even tell that they are just totally laughing right to his face about how ridiculous such a prediction is. Who knows? I guess by the end of Obama's second term, maybe we'll see a moon colony, but I'm gonna say that's not gonna happen.
I don't think so either, but I want to applaud you guys for not saying that the Mayans had the most wrong prediction of the year. Congratulations on that.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
The Mayans were only trying to warn us about the movie 2012.
That's it. It all makes sense now.
Yeah, and John Cusack's agent, too.
Yeah, we just pulled out our other Mayan calendar. They went after the one that ended, so we're good for a little while, I think.
Yeah, I think like another 5,700 years or something.
That's good, because, the Mayans were so good at seeing what was coming for their empire, so I'm astonished. But I want to wish you a happy dawning of the age of Aquarius. That's what the Mayans were really talking about.
That's
and
it.
Apparently this is going to be an era of learning and light and love and unity, and the old way, the age of Pisces, of violence and force is going to die off. So I'm sure there will all be a bunch of happy, clappy liberals, and next year we'll exchange patchouli.
I think the only way that's going to happen is if there's some strange disease that starts only affecting Republicans. I'm not going to hold out hope on that.
Republican airborne amnesia virus, in which you forget everything George Bush ever did, and it's pretty remarkable, and it's pretty consistent. And we see it manifesting itself today in Washington, D.C., when the Republicans of America forgot that the American people chose the guy who said he was going to raise taxes on the wealthy in 2012, and they chose it in 2008. So don't forget, all of the Republicans' fiscal cliff haranguing is all about their desire to deliberately ignore the will of the American people.
Yeah, it really is stunning. So, John, in just a few weeks here, you and the Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour are going to be coming to D.C., and we're very excited about it. I can't believe you're coming here.
I'm thrilled. I haven't played D.C. in a while. I come to D.C. a lot to do stuff for Current or Bill Press or stuff like that. But we're really thrilled. Aisha Tyler and Hal Sparks will both be on that bill, as well as a couple of very, very special surprise D.C. Guests that I am not allowed to reveal.
Yes.
It's also a lot of fun. I hope you guys can come.
Also, Chris and Jim will be there, I believe, right?
Oh, yes, they will be. Indeed. It's going to be on Jackie Scheckner of Current TV, too.
Oh, wow.
Great. Yeah, I'll have about enough time to do about a 45-second set. It's going to be such a packed show. So it's at the Warner Theater. Our VIP tickets are already sold out, but there's still some seats available, and it's really going to be the one inaugural party of the year you want to get to.
Absolutely.
And it might last into the inauguration from Saturday night.
I know, right? Well, that probably, our show's going to go so long it'll turn into a Hillary Clinton 2016 fundraiser.
And
I also want to announce I'm going to be, for our Midwestern friends, I'll be headlining this year's Blue State Ball on the 26th, I believe, in Minneapolis. Our mutual good friend Tom Hartman will be there, as will Ed Schultz, and I'll be doing a stand-up set as the closer of the show.
That's awesome. They are in for a treat. I can vouch.
And I heard it first here.
Yes. That's good to know, huh?
You heard what? I'm sorry.
He said he heard it first here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, you did. Yes, I'm launching it. You're catching up with me, and I'm dropping that information right here.
That's awesome. John, thank you so much for all of the times you've joined us in 2012 and for all of the humor and lightheartedness and brilliance you have brought to us and to everybody else for this entire year. And I can't wait to see what you bring to us in 2013.
Thank you, guys. Well, I'm such a fan of what you do, and, it was such a crazy year politically. I mean, when you look back to a year ago, the year began with Jan Brewer waving her finger at that amused adult on a tarmac, and President Obama's inaugural address last January, which was a lot like the Vietnam War because so many Republicans didn't show up. But then over the course of this whole year with Hurricane Sandy and the election and Petraeus, I mean, my God, how embarrassing for our national pride that on the day the new James Bond movie opens, our top spy gets fired for having sex with one woman. But very degrading. But through it all, I've enjoyed what you guys have done, and it's some election fatigue in America right now. But the evil isn't going away, and we're going to need shows like yours more than ever.
You are too kind, and we are so looking forward to seeing you when you're here in D.C. So have a very safe and happy New Year, and give our best to the little one.
Thank you. I'll see you both soon. Have a great one.
Okay, bye, John. One of the best men on earth.
He is. Yes. I want to grow up and be as good a person as John Fugelsang is every single day. I love that guy.
Absolutely. And, everything he says is so sincere, which is something, it doesn't matter if you're a politician, a celebrity, or, Joe Schmo on the street. He is one of the most sincere and genuinely sweet and wonderful and brilliant people we have ever had the fortune of meeting. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing him.
Absolutely.
We'll play the promo actually during this break, too.
All right. We're going to be right back with more and talk about some activism in this next hour. So don't go anywhere. This is Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano, and we'll be right back.
Hi, friends. This is Tom Hartman.
This is Stephanie Miller.
Hey, this is Hal Sparks. I'm Brad Friedman. I approve of Nicole Sandler's RadioOrNot.com.
Radio or Not.
Radio or Not. RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com.
RadioOrNot.com. RadioOrNot.com.
Never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to the Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Bill Maher, you're here in Miami on Friday night. You're doing a show at the Fillmore at the Jackie Gleason Theater. They just renamed this theater the Fillmore. And they put up a couple of psychedelic posters. So I guess...
Was it the theater Jackie did his TV show from?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
What I hear they did is put up 2 of those old Bill Graham posters and renamed it.
Yeah, I can't think of 2 different icons of show business.
Yeah, really.
Bill Graham and Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, why they just didn't play up the Jackie Gleason aspect, I don't know. But then again, this is South Florida.
Right.
Okay.
Welcome to it.
I feel warned.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime at radioornot.com.
Hi, this is Kenny Pick from Turn Up the Night. Here are some of the hijinks you can expect from my show.
That right-wing Republican from Texas was only helping Dennis because he thought Dennis would be easier for Joe the plumber to beat than Kemp.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, a pet rock would have been better candidate than Joe the plumber. I think he might actually have been a pet rock before he was a non-plumber. So, but he was a union pet rock, never mind. Turn Up the Night with Kenny Pick, streaming live every Tuesday and Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern at Radio or Not, Talk Radio 1, Progressive Blend Radio, and KennyPick.com.
You know that the ice cream scoop has the power to make a child smile, and that by slowing us down, the traffic light can keep us going. You know that the golf tee brings friends together, that the mailbox keeps them connected. You know that the cataract laser helps you look to the future, while the pacemaker ensures that there's a future to be seen. You know that the lawnmower, the clothes dryer, and the elevator make life easier, that the blood bank makes life possible. You know that these things we count on every day started as ideas. But did you know all these ideas came from the minds of African Americans? Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Please visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
The most important online radio station.
It's easier than ever to listen to SoFlo. On the air and everywhere. On any computer, any mobile device, iPhone, iTouch, and anywhere you are, just hit SoFloRadio.com. Tell your friends about South Florida's radio network, SoFloRadio.com.
Welcome back to Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. Hope everybody out there is enjoying the show, regardless of whether you're listening on radio or not. SoFlo Radio, We Act Radio, Progressive Blend, or our home sweet home on TalkingLeft.com.
Maybe you're listening at the end of 2013 to see if we got it all wrong.
That could be.
It could be a year from now, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's forever on the internets.
Yeah. If you're listening to this a year from now, you may want to check your social
It's probably
life.
me listening to it for a year from now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi,
Shano.
me.
So we wanted to cover some great activists and stories of activism throughout the year. One prediction I wanted to mention from our great friend and listener, Victor Rocco, who tweeted us during the show, just because it's fun. He predicts that Alan Grayson will give some kick-ass speeches in 2013.
Oh, yeah.
Victor, I predict you're right. But
He
thank
is
you
a
for that.
congressman with guts.
Yes. So, and I guess he could be considered an activist as much as he fights for the people. But here are some other activists we wanted to mention. Our top 5, and really I think the order here could be switched around in any way. But number 5, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, continuing to provide information our governments don't want us to know.
Bradley Manning.
He'll be on the list.
I sorry, I don't have the list in front of me.
Yeah, you stole my thunder.
Sorry.
Yes. Number 4, Code Pink, NRA press conference, Medea Benjamin for standing in front of Wayne LaPierre and screaming NRA has blood on their hands. Because guess what? They do. After Sandy Hook, Medea Benjamin was quite brave to stand up in front of that press conference, in front of all the cameras and press, and put Wayne LaPierre on the NRA in their place. So thank you, Medea. Number 3, Diane Wilson and Bob Lindsay Jr. Who are they, you may ask?
I'm asking.
They are protesters who are waging a hunger strike against the Keystone XL pipeline.
Now I remember.
Yes, they have already been arrested for locking themselves to trees, trying to block the XL pipeline, which was partly because of their efforts rerouted around the area they were trying to protect. Well, they're still trying to stop the pipeline in its
Canadian
entirety.
pipeline.
Yes. And they are now in jail waging a hunger strike. So all of our support and thoughts and prayers go out to them, and we thank them for putting their own lives at risk for the benefit of our whole country. Number 2, Bradley Manning, for his continued imprisonment and continued persecution when he really should be freed. He was a whistleblower, and as much as the government can enact protections for corporate whistleblowers, they don't take too kindly when people do it to them. Bradley Manning is the evidence, and we all hope and pray he gets released soon. And number 1 on my list, Anonymous. Because, Anonymous is theoretically everyone. No one. The American people. For so many reasons, including sticking up for the teenager Amanda Todd, who committed suicide over cyberbullying, attacking Westboro Baptist Church for picketing soldiers and children's funerals, for making Karl Rove possibly have a complete meltdown on air because that was just awesome. And for many other things they have done throughout 2012. We salute them, and we thank them for their activism, for protecting democracy and the American people and people throughout the entire world. Good on them. Do you have any others you want to mention, Shane, since you already stole my Bradley Manning thunder?
I didn't really. I figured they would kind of go hand in hand.
They do. They do. It's just more fun to give you a hard time.
It's easy to do.
Yes. And we're going to come back with Lee Camp, actor, comedian, activist extraordinaire, and some great stories of activism throughout 2012. Great events that people put their voices and their power together and made change. So don't go anywhere. This is Talking Left with me, Danielle and Shano. We'll be right back here on We Act Radio with Lee Camp. Stick around.
No plans at all. Evil man's always transcending. Fighter like sheep, swallow everything. Always simpletons or pretending. We got no plans.
This is your moment of clarity from LeeCamp.net. Look, I have no problem with money. Who doesn't like money? It's good for buying things, you're giving to a stripper who you want to spend more time with, or buying things for a stripper friend, or paying off a stripper when she knows too much, or stuffing in a stripper's G-string. You ever tried to tuck compliments or a poem in a stripper's thong? It infuriates them. So I have no problem with money. Well, except for the fact that it's a measurement and we all treat it as if it's true wealth, and the debt inherent in it is a huge issue that we hardly get the point. But anyway, money has its good side. It's undeniable that many great things have been created in the pursuit of cash. But when things are done only for money, purely for dollars, that thing ends up sucking. When movies are done only for money, you get the Transformers and Battleship and Fast and Furious and Emptiness in a Pretty Dress. When theater is only for money, you get Spider-Man the Musical and Legally Blonde the Musical and Punch Me in the Throat and Drag My Earlobes Over Fossilized Coral Reef the Musical. When technology is only for money, you get weapons for war, speakers and earphones designed to break after 100 uses, and telephones that after 1 week are more obsolete than Jay Leno interviewing Pat Robertson. When medicine is done only for money, we get treatments rather than cures and prescription pills that cost more than blood diamonds. When healthcare is only for money, you get people yelling, "Let him die," at a poor person who needs a transplant. Political office only for money? You get the ripest group of well-dressed turd piles, snake oil selling snakes who would pawn their own child in exchange for a good rating from the gun lobby, yeast infections, beast conceptions, wrestling over who gets to be on Lucifer's side in the 5-on-5 Senate basketball game. Schooling only for money? You get for-profit scams indebting students to a lifetime of pointless, meaningless work they despise, placing their self-worth in a fantasy football game because they had their hope of affecting any small change in a tiny part of this world beaten out of them. Imprisonment only for money? We get countless millions locked away for petty crimes, destroying their lives for a bump in the prison industrial stock price. Armed conflict only for money. You get a state of infinite war. Why stop the gravy train, huh? Why kill the golden goose? Why take your fully loaded Glock of a out of the glory hole of an oil pipeline? Media done only for money? We get 6 propaganda-pushing conglomerates owning the entire landscape. Music only for money? Britney Spears, mass-produced, auto-tuned, auto-written, possibly ass-produced, totally forgettable fest, the soundtrack of a dying civilization. TeeVee only for money? You get the Big Bang Theory. #1 rated TV show. Making money our only motivation pushes us toward a civilization of war, imprisonment, and vapid nothingness. I'm not saying financial gain can't be a motivator, but why does it feel like we're getting to a point where it's the only motivator? That's been your moment of clarity. You can help this web series continue and get bigger by simply leaving a comment or giving this video a thumbs up. Also, I have live comedy shows coming up in Kansas City, Missouri, Des Moines, Iowa, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Just go to leecamp.net/schedule to find out about them and get tickets. And please tell your friends if they live in those cities. Tell them to come out. Thanks a lot. Keep fighting.
No plans at all. Evil man's always transcending. Fighter like sheep, swallow everything. Always simpletons or pretending. We got no plans at all. Evil man's always transcending. Fighter like sheep, swallow everything. Always simpletons or pretending. We got no plans.
This is your moment of clarity from leecamp.net. Every time there's a horrific massacre of all American proportions in this country, we have the exact same gun control debate, or should I say, the same gun control whining, screaming, yelling ruckus of a pissing contest. One side says, this wouldn't happen if there were more gun control. And the other side says, don't take away my rights just because one crackpot with a Glock took out a schoolroom. I don't take away your right to bear cheese every time someone knocks a guy over the head with a block of Camembert, bitch. I'm only going to address one part of this continuous bickering, but I think it's the most important part. Some people act like they're against gun control, when in fact, we're all for some kind of gun/weapon control. I have yet to meet anyone who says we should be allowed to have a nuclear bomb on our porch or a grenade launcher in our bedroom. Very few people defend your right to own a tank or keep a dirty bomb in your pants. Too many puns to choose from. And if the military created a laser handgun tomorrow that could shoot through everything from New York to Idaho in a single shot, every person, creature, house, barn, every Applebee's, Chuck E. Cheese, construction site, and bestialite in one pull of the trigger, I think very few people would argue that everyone should be allowed to sit down at a dinner with one in their pocket. No one seems to claim that their Second Amendment rights are infringed upon because they can't own a home Panasonic atom bomb. My point is that people say they are against gun control, but clearly everyone is for some weapon control of varying degrees. If you're not, you're more psychotic than the love child of Kim Jong-un and Mad Dog Tannen. So let's stop this nonsense where people say gun/weapon control doesn't solve problems. If that were the case, then there would be a lot of people proposing that we each have our own nuclear arsenal. So the question is not whether the weapons in this country should have any control at all. We all agree they should. The question is instead where to draw the line, at what level or size of gun. Arguing that because someone doesn't want assault rifles on the streets, they are therefore opposed to your entire Second Amendment right makes as much sense as saying that because I think an adult man should not be allowed to have sex with a 13-year-old, I'm therefore opposed to your right to have a consensual of any kind. Or that because you believe the speed limit should be 65 miles per hour, you're therefore opposing the entire right to drive a car. The world is not black and white. Stop behaving like children for 1 second, and maybe we can then have a civil debate about the proper laws in this country. That's been your moment of clarity. My live comedy album is free for a limited time at leecamp.net. Just go there to download it. If you like what you hear, consider becoming a supporting member to help keep Moment of Clarity going. Thanks a lot. Keep fighting.
No plans at all. Evil man's always transcending. Fighter like sheep, swallow everything. Always simpletons or pretending.
This is Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
Welcome back to the last hour of Talking Left in 2012. And joining us is a great, amazing comedian you just heard during the break for the Moments of Clarity, Lee Camp. How you doing, Lee? Thanks for getting up so early with us on a Sunday.
No problem.
We really appreciate it. I just want to remind everybody that they can follow Lee at Lee Camp, and you can download all the Moments of Clarity and get your new album for free. Wait, 2 albums. Shane's correcting me.
That's all right. It's my old album is free. The new one is not, but it's free to download at leecamp.net.
That's what I was trying to say. Shane was yelling at me in the background. Yes, and we love the Moment of Clarity. We play it every week on our show. So anybody who's listening should run right over there, download it now, and share it, and encourage people to buy Lee's new album.
And I appreciate you taking the time to make the clean version, Lee.
Yes.
That saves me a lot of time.
Yeah, no problem. I've noticed a lot of people are like, I love it, but my grandma is not going to handle it so well.
Through listening to you and speaking with you throughout the year, Lee, we know you have done so much for the Occupy movement and that you're really involved in great activism. So we thought, what better person to share some stories of great activism that have occurred throughout the year. You up for that?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
Okay, awesome. So I picked 5 here, and feel free to change or add any that you want. But number 5, the Black Friday Walmart strike happening in 100 cities across 46 states, including an estimated at least 600 protesters just in a few cities, the few major ones. Do you think that that's going to have a big impact on corporate power and wages in the future?
I do, in the sense that, people have to realize this is the first time in Walmart's entire history that the workers nationally have been able to stand up against this monster. And so I think this was really impressive, and I think it's a kind of an awakening thing where workers have to realize they have power, and they have to slowly stand up and realize they're able to stand up. And so, did Walmart lose tons of money on Black Friday? Probably not, but I think that as a demonstration and as a sign that the workers of this country are ready to stand up for rights, it's a great thing. People have to realize that the 6 heirs of the Walmart fortune have the same amount of wealth as the bottom 40% of this country, and meanwhile the workers can't get health care, can't take care of their kids and stuff. And so when you look at that disparity, it's really insane.
Yeah, and Walmart totally the biggest recipient of corporate welfare, being that all their wages are so low that they're essentially subsidized by the government with their employees being on Medicaid and food stamps and stuff that they should be providing, but instead us taxpayers are, just like the fast food workers in New York who are standing up and demanding at least a 25% pay raise, but asking for $15 an hour. I think I don't know that it'll ever happen, but it's pretty awesome to see all these people speaking out. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and this is a slow process. People have to realize. I think the naysayers want to say, oh, well, Walmart didn't lose any money on that one strike or things like that. But this is a slow process of workers standing up over time, and I think you're seeing it continue to grow. I mean, a lot of this can be, you can pinpoint the initial occupation of the Wisconsin Capitol as maybe the beginning of this latest round of workers standing up, and it's continuing. You know, that's almost 2 years ago or whatever, but it's continuing to move on, and you know, new ways of communicating and getting people together like Twitter and Facebook is making it so workers nationally can stand up in coordination, which you know, is frightening to the couple of people at the top, but is very empowering to all the millions that are not at the top.
Well,
yeah, I would say that the first Walmart strikes really weren't about hurting Walmart financially. It was more a signal to other Walmart workers throughout the country that power and numbers can work. They just will require a lot more numbers because Walmart has a lot more money.
Yeah. You know, hit them at the bottom line. It's always the best place to impact them. And Lee, you know, on that comment of social media, I think celebrities and comedians like you doing, you know, just all the shows and benefits you do, as well as, you know, the moments of clarity that show you're standing with everybody out there who's fighting. I think that goes a long way. You know, it encourages people, and I definitely commend you for the impact you have just as an individual.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think we all play our various roles, and mine is this kind of making people aware through comedy so that it's easier to pay attention and isn't boring and that kind of thing. And different people play different roles, and performing at some of these union benefits in Wisconsin and around the country and stuff is, I mean, just incredible people. You know, it's just so great to be able to you know, make people laugh, but also talk about these important issues to workers that have, you know, worked 20 and 30 years and still can't, you know, make a living at these jobs. They're the best people in the world, you know.
Yep, and, you know, speaking of unions, my number 4 pick, Chicago Teachers Union strike. Although, you know, many people can argue that they didn't get everything that they were fighting for, members of the union specifically said that the union came away stronger, that the rallies, the public support really showed them that the union strength does make a difference, and the strike ultimately allowed them to preserve the union. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's just this ongoing show of power by workers. I think that it's definitely changing things, and you know, you have to remember that this is like this disparity has gotten so extreme. You know, there's so much wealth amassed in that not just top 1%, but it's really more like top 0.1%. Is that and meanwhile, these same people are going after like teacher benefits and stuff, and it's teachers are heroes. Teachers deal with those little jerks all day long, and you know, they get paid less than the guy at the zoo in charge of making sure the hippos mate. Like, it's insane.
I'm not even going to try and top that because that was just awesome. Number 3.
When you have comedians on, don't ever try to top them.
No,
it's not possible.
No, absolutely not. No. Number 3, and this one I was kind of on the fence about because of the latest news, but repealing Michigan's financial managers law, the little dictators law that allowed individuals to essentially take over the government, sell off the commons, and what do you know, break up union contracts. The voters were awesome there, struck down the law, but unfortunately Rick Snyder and the state Congress brought it back.
Yeah, and they brought it back in such a way that it can't be repealed or whatever. But I think that still people need to realize that the people can have an effect, and that the jerks at the top are not going to give up. They're going to find new ways around it, which just means we have to keep fighting. But it was kind of an amazing battle. I mean, that was if I'm not mistaken, that was the one where they claimed that the font was too small on the petitions. And so they tried to throw them out that way, and there was that amazing viral footage of when they decided they would throw it out because of the font size, the whole room chanting shame in their face. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the fact that he tried to, you know, he's brought the law back, and as you said, made it impossible to repeal, I think that the voters there proved they're not going to just sit down and take it very easily. as the voters in Ohio have done with our number 2 activism story, the anti-union bill repeal, SB 5, voted 61% to 39%. Public workers said they were not going to take it in Ohio and did it successfully. How awesome is that?
Yeah, it was incredible, and it shows that when these things are really put to a vote, when it's actually the people deciding as opposed to some corporate-funded words that I can't say, governor, when it's actually put to the people, then you get votes like this, where it's 60 and 70% against it, and I think these things have to be put to the people, and in terms of voting, and the people need to insist that it come to a vote, you know?
Yeah. And I saved our number 1 story because of your involvement with Occupy, but I think the number 1 activism story of 2012 is Occupy Sandy. The volunteers have worked night and day, set up donation locations, have helped people clean flooded basements, canvass to see what help is needed, just done amazing work up in New York and New Jersey. I can't imagine you would disagree with that at all, but do you think I've missed any stories?
Well, first of all, let me say you're absolutely right about Occupy Sandy. Unfortunately, I've only gotten to volunteer a few days here and there. I really want to give credit to the people that have been on the ground doing that more than I have. You know, I've tried to raise awareness and stuff, but those people are incredible, and the people I would meet down there that, you know, were able to, you know, leave their jobs for weeks on end or you know, devote weeks on end to helping people down there. It's just incredible. And it was put into stark contrast when there was a video of Bloomberg finally visiting the Rockaways like several weeks later, and he arrives in helicopter and won't speak to anyone. And it kind of really put into stark contrast the difference between people that are actually helping people and people that it's just kind of a show. But in terms of what you missed, I just kind of want to add to Occupy Sandy, which is the other Occupy stuff that's been going on around the country. Occupy foreclosure stuff and strike debt was a truly incredible offshoot of Occupy. If people haven't learned about that, they should definitely check it out. But strike debt buys up debt from the bank that's crushing people, that's destroying their lives, medical debt and the such, and erases it.
Yep.
So these people are basically given a new lease on life in terms of their financial situation.
Yeah, we're actually going to talk about that and rolling Jubilee as soon as we're done talking to you here. But that definitely will impact people's lives and show how the power of a few people can really make change for such a large number. It's just amazing work by so many people who have given so much, and I consider you one of them. That's why I really wanted to speak with you during this segment. But, you know, you're not just activism. You're not just Occupy by any means. You are an amazing comedian. Where are you? Where's your next show? Where can people come and check you out?
Yeah, I'd love for people to come out. I'm doing a brief tour outside of New York. I'll be in Kansas City, Missouri, Des Moines, Iowa, and Indianapolis, and then a little later, at the beginning of February, I'll be in Pittsburgh, and I'm in New York City all the time. But people can get that schedule at leecamp.net/schedule, and of course, my videos are free online, and that album is still going to be free for a little while longer at leecamp.net.
Well, that's awesome. We will post all of those links up with the blog post, Lee. Thank you very much for all of the times you've joined us during 2012, and we hope you have an amazing new year and amazing shows coming up.
Thank you for all that you do, and I'll talk to you in the new year.
Absolutely. Happy New Year. Lee Camp, everybody. It doesn't get better than Lee. LeeCamp.net.
I'm hoping he gets to D.C. soon.
Yeah. Inauguration show, just saying.
Just saying.
LeeCamp.net, at LeeCamp on Twitter. You can download his album, his old album, and encourage everybody to go buy his new one. He really, really does a lot of great work for Occupy and many other organizations. He's somebody we should really support.
Is this out there at all? Probably not a unique idea. You know, we have USO, which goes overseas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, you know, based on what, you know, Lee does and a lot of other, you know, musicians, comedians do, putting together a USO type of thing, but for inside our nation.
It's interesting.
Because, we have an American Red Cross for a reason. There's unfortunately, with this larger country, with natural disasters and all kinds of man-made disasters, all kinds of things that happen, I'm wondering if maybe somebody can, email or tweet if there is something like that, because that would be really, kind of a group that's there to, go to these different events and lift people's spirits. And, I just was,
yeah,
throwing it out there.
Okay. Well, we are quite a bit late for our next break, but you can't cut Lee off. So we're going to run to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Cut me off.
And we'll be right back here on Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shana. I'll let you ramble for the rest of 2012. How about that?
Thanks.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
It's our last errand today, Jimmy. Just need to pick up some light bulbs.
Whoa, there's so many. Did Grandma tell you which ones to buy?
No, but check out the label on this package. It'll help us find the right bulbs.
Does it really matter?
Well, sure. The new light bulbs use a lot less energy, so we save money on our electric bill by using an energy-saving incandescent, CFL, or LED.
How about this bulb?
Let's see. We need to replace the 60-watt bulbs in our bedside lamps. That one is 800 lumens, so it should do the trick.
I've never heard of lumens.
Lumens tell us how bright the light is. The more lumens, the brighter the bulb.
You know, Grandpa, you're a pretty bright guy.
Yeah, you're pretty smart yourself, Jimmy.
Lumens, the new way to shop for light. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. That's EnergySavers.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Energy.
You may be hearing about people having trouble making mortgage payments and risking losing their homes. Many of them just aren't aware of the options that can prevent foreclosure. There are many options available to homeowners, such as repayment and forbearance plans, loan modifications, and even refinancing. Where does someone go for help? They should talk directly with their lender or a qualified HUD-approved counseling agency. Both can provide helpful information without charging a fee. According to PMI Mortgage Insurance Company, it's not a good idea to pay for services that you can get for free from a lender or a qualified nonprofit counseling agency. To learn more, visit homesafepmi.com or call HUD at 1-800-569-4287 for a counseling agency near you. That's 1-800-569-4287. This message is brought to you by PMI, supporting sustainable home ownership that strengthens communities.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at We Act Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
This is Stephanie Miller.
Hi, this is Tom Hartman.
Hello, everybody. I'm David Schuster of Take Action News.
I'm Brad Friedman of BradBlog.com.
Hi, I'm cartoonist and agent provocateur P.S. Mueller.
This is Nicole Bell of crooksandliars.com, and this is...
You're listening to
and watching
Filter Free Radio.
Filter Free Radio.
Filter Free Radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Jacob Dean. With Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Great presidents aren't born, they are made. We've got to push people. They don't jump out and
in front of a parade if there's not a parade there. That is political suicide. The parade, metaphorically, already has to be in the streets with the picket signs saying, we need progressive talk in Portland, or we need marriage equality in Washington, or we need marijuana legalization in Colorado, whatever.
The Trans-Canada Pipeline. Stop the pipeline.
We have to push for our positions because they're not just going to out of thin air.
FilterFreeRadio.com.
4 years ago, we witnessed the first inauguration of President Barack Obama. In November, America decided one term just wasn't enough. This time around, Stephanie Miller and her team of two-term comics are coming to make this a party DC will never forget. On January 19th, just 2 days before Obama's second inauguration, the Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour starring Hal Sparks, John Fugelsang, Aisha Tyler, and the Goddess of Liberals, Stephanie Miller, will perform live at the Warner Theater in Washington, D.C. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com, and if you want to skip the fees, stop by the Warner Theater box office at 513 13th Street Northwest. The Teabaggers lost in November, so Stephanie is going to do her thing before the inaugural balls.
That means two things.
That's the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour, live in D.C. Inauguration Weekend. For more information, go to sexyliberal.com.
Watching the wide world riot and hide now. I'll be coming home next year.
Welcome back to the last half hour of Talking Left in 2012. I can't believe it's going to be 2013. It's pretty amazing. We were just speaking with Lee Camp about our favorite activism stories of 2012, and we left out one because it's our favorite one of 2012.
So
and
you're
we
holding
wanted
back on Lee is what you're saying.
I wanted to highlight it. He got to it anyway.
He did.
Everybody's stealing my thunder today.
Well, that's
but
okay.
that's just because it's too good not to mention.
And
that's
it was just in the news again this last, I think, week or week and a half.
right. Strike debt, otherwise known as the Rolling Jubilee. Occupy and activist group together buying people's debt and forgiving it. For pennies on a dollar, they estimated that, with $500, they could buy about $25,000 worth of debt. Mm-hmm. And they sent out their first letters this week telling people your debt has been forgiven. Can you imagine getting one of those letters?
Well, you think about people who, we have them in our lives, play the lottery. What's the first thing you do? Pay off all my bills. Mm-hmm. It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
A lot of those, when you see people, it's relief, those tears of relief.
Yes.
In an economy like this, there's tears of joy. Those are tears of relief. And, it's such a wonderful idea. And mark my words, I'm sorry to be the cynic, but they'll try to enact a law to stop it.
Yeah.
You have to be registered, some kind of licensing in order to buy up debt for pennies. But when that happens, we're going to let you know. We're going to start making phone calls.
Yep.
Immediately.
Exactly. Guess what? White House comment line, 202-456-1111.
You got it memorized.
I got it memorized. I've said it a few times recently.
And the NSA has your number, too.
That's cool. They're probably one of the million phone numbers I don't answer anyway because of debt collectors. But no, in addition to obviously providing a credit repair and relief in people actually being able to afford their monthly expenses, just imagine not getting those hounding phone calls, that you don't have to cringe every time your phone rings. That is a gift to some people that is beyond words. It's beyond that money. It's taking that weight off their shoulders. And what an amazing idea.
It gets in the way of finding jobs,
Mm-hmm.
So
houses, credit, everything. So
right.
That is our favorite activism story of 2012, and I have a feeling it'll extend far into
rolling,
2013,
so to speak.
Yes, and you can go over and donate $25 or whatever you can, and think how many people you could be helping. So, anyhow, we've got more fun stuff coming up. The best of Rocky Mountain Mike of 2012. This one was hard to pick, so we just picked our favorites. We'll be right back here on Talking Left with me, Danielle, and Shano. Fun stuff coming up next. Stick around.
Hey, this is Hal Sparks from the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide, and you're listening to Talking Left with Danielle and Shano.
Periodically, we're treated to the spectacle of a corporate big shot or public official having to announce their resignation due to having been caught doing something messy, usually involving sex or money. Almost invariably, they say, "I'm stepping down to spend more time with my family." Aside from generating snickers, snorts, and guffaws from the public at large, that comment probably causes many people to wince because many of us don't spend enough time with our families. We're busy, stressed, stretched, too little time. So here's a suggestion that would make a dandy New Year's resolution. Do dinner with your family. Yes, that includes the kids. The gathering, preparing, and eating of food is a natural social uniter. Yet too few of us these days make a point of gathering our households around the table for an hour or so, not merely to eat, but to talk, listen, laugh, learn, connect. In her book, The Family Dinner, Laura David notes that this shouldn't be a big production. Start with one night a week. Make a simple meal, a soup, casserole, salad, or even carry-out, and then go from there. Some of her other tips are: 1. Make this hour gizmo-free. No TV, iPads, or other rude diversions. 2. Involve everyone in some part of the food preparation so dinner becomes theirs. 3. Make it fun by experimenting with different foods or occasionally turning dinner into a picnic, maybe with one of the kids' friends. And 4. Start talking. This is Jim Hightower saying number 4 is the whole point. For telling stories, exploring ideas, and generating actual conversation around the table makes spending time with one's family a rich experience. To help prompt real discussions, Laura David posts a lively table talk idea every Friday at huffingtonpost.com/parents.
If you like these feisty pops of populism that Hightower zings out on the airwaves, check out the Hightower Lowdown. Jim's monthly newsletter provides the in-depth lowdown on what the greed heads of Wall Street and the boneheads of Washington are doing to us behind the scenes. With Hightower's saucy Texas humor and truth-telling populist perspective, the lowdown literally can lift you up. And get this, you can have the lowdown delivered to your mailbox or email each month for only $15 a year. Yes, 12 issues, only $15. Check it out, hightowerlowdown.org.
You're listening to WIN, the Workers' Independent News Service. I'm Jesse Russell. The National Labor Relations Board issued several rulings this month, some of which overturned nearly 50 years of labor law precedent. In a case involving WKYC-TV, the board ruled 3-1 that employers must honor dues deduction after a contract expires. The ruling requires companies to continue deducting dues until a new agreement is reached, or the two sides declare an impasse. The board did rule that the new standard wouldn't be applied retroactively. A second ruling by the board said the employers must compensate workers for any extra taxes that are applied to back pay awards. The employer is further required to report to the Social Security Administration wages that would have been earned during the time the employee was not working while waiting for the results of a challenge. In a victory for privacy rights, the board ruled that a nonprofit had to reinstate employees that were fired due to Facebook comments. The NLRB has determined that Facebook comments are protected speech and cannot be used as a justification for termination. Finally, the board is seeking briefs on how to best draft a rule that would allow labor unions the right to charge non-member dues objectors for certain lobbying expenses that are directly related to representational duties. This month marks the end of the term of NLRB member Brian Hayes. Hayes is the sole Republican on the board, leaving what is supposed to be a 5-member board as a 3-person board of all Democrats. However, there is debate over the legality of the current board. Chairman Mark Gaston Pierce is the only member that has been officially confirmed by the Senate. The other 2 members were President Barack Obama's recess appointments, put in place due to the GOP Senate minority, blocking the president's efforts to make regular appointments. A constitutional challenge has been made regarding the president's appointments, but it will likely be some time before the case ends up in front of the Supreme Court. The U.S. Maritime Alliance and the International Longshoremen's Association have agreed to meet with a federal mediator in contract discussions. A contract extension is set to expire on December 29th, which could see 15,000 dock workers all along the East Coast and in the Gulf of Mexico go out on a strike. One of the main sticking points in negotiations is over container royalties. The alliance is seeking to cap payments of the royalties, which dock workers receive based on the weight of container cargo. 15 ports between Boston and Houston would be impacted by a strike, and it would be the first East Coast strike since 1977.
Workers Independent News puts workers and their unions on the national radio news airwaves every day. To help keep labor's voice on the air, go to laborradio.org.
You've been listening to WIN, the Workers Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. It's kind of like an elephant is on my chest. I feel like I'm choking. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many.
I feel like a fish with no water.
Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
I am just an orange boy, though I'm seldom seen outside. I have squandered my influence for a pocket full of tax cuts for the filthy rich. My eyes get wet, still a man cries when he thinks about which tavern is the best. When I swept the floors of my family's bar, I was no more than a boy with a tube full of some bronzer. In the quiet of the back room, I would put it on. Laying low, seeking out the tanning corners where the fake-skinned people go, looking for the copper tone that they all know. Crying lie, crying lie.
We love Rocky Mountain Mike, who also, for anybody who doesn't know, wrote our awesome intro music. So big thanks to Mike Hardiman. You can always find his stuff on his SoundCloud, his amazing photography on MikeHardiman.com, and follow him on Twitter at Rocky Mountain Mike, Mountain MNTN. So Rocky MNTN Mike. And over the years, he has done some amazing, amazing, amazing parodies. And so we wanted to highlight a few of our favorites. Two of these are technically 2011.
But he did different iterations during the year, so we thought it'd be cool to run the originals,
Right.
which was the doubled over, holy bleep, I'm dying, crying.
Exactly, because, you just can't mess with the original Rocky Mountain Mike, which started us off at T-Harmony.
Finding true right-wing love is a challenge, so that's why I created Tea Party Harmony. We're the only site that has the patented 19 dimensions of douchebaggery, where you're certain to find someone just as greedy, xenophobic, and narrow-minded as you.
When I met Sam for our first date at the firing range, it was just boom.
We both know that Obama was born in Hawaii.
But that's not really America.
I don't like taxes.
I'm afraid of brown people.
There's no such thing as nuance at Tea Party Harmony. Don't tread on me.
But I found out he kind of likes that.
Find that one person who's going to love you passionately for the gun-toting Tea Party nut you really are. It all starts with your sociopathic personality profile. Right now, review your compatible wing nuts for free at teapartyharmony.com.
teapartyharmony.com. Awesome stuff there by Rocky Mountain Mike. And it's just hilarious how well he recaptured the eHarmony commercial.
Oh, the music
Yes.
was perfect.
Yes, it was amazing.
How do you find that music? He may have actually played that himself.
Yeah, he may have had to, because there's definitely not eHarmony karaoke music. Number 4, only because it's also in 2011, otherwise this would be way higher on our list, is Skeeter. which I believe is actually called Obama derangement syndrome on Mike's SoundCloud.
Kenyan socialist Muslim.
Meet Skeeter.
He raised taxes 14 times.
As you can tell, Skeeter
He
is
takes
afflicted
vacation.
with Obama derangement syndrome. Skeeter is unable to distinguish wild fantasy from reality.
Okay.
There is no cure, but there is hope.
He's arrogant.
For less than the price of 2 decaf triple lattes, you can sponsor someone with Obama derangement syndrome.
All he does is blame Bush for everything Bush did.
With your help, Skeeter and thousands like him can receive the equivalent of an 8th grade education, learning basic civics, economics, science.
He had a big hip-hop barbecue.
And hygiene.
Community organizer, communist, Hitler.
We might not be able to cure him.
They're not rich people, they're job creators.
But we might prevent Skeeter from running for a second congressional term.
Obama is in cahoots with Barbara Streisand and Al Gore, who has a big house.
Please help us erase Obama derangement syndrome. A half-baked thought is a terrible thing to waste.
Yay, Rocky Mountain Mike. He has done so many...
the most hip-hop telephone.
Yes.
Obama hip-hop telephone.
Yes, but he's done so many sequels to that.
Yeah.
With It Gets Better was the recent one.
That's right.
Which was hilarious. So that's why we wanted to go back to the original. And, of course, number 3 from good old Rick Santorum, Blah People, which, you know, everybody knew what he was really trying to say.
I think it's a Randy Newman did the original song. When I heard this one, I was like, oh, genius. Genius.
I don't want to make people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. I want to give them the opportunity to go out and earn the money and provide for themselves and their family.
Blah people got no identity. Blah people got no identity. Blah people got no identity to me.
To get more and more of you dependent upon them so they can get your vote.
They got the blah hands and blah eyes, and you can see how I genericize. Blah people ain't no people to me.
That's what the bottom line is.
Brilliant. And what did Santorum, how did he try and cover that one up?
Well, that's exactly, because he said black people, and he tried to cover it up by saying he meant blah people.
Yeah, blah.
Like,
Sure.
he was starting a word and then he ended it, or whatever the iteration of
It was
BS.
blah people. Good old Santorum. Aren't you glad we didn't get Santorum as present? Although Rocky Mountain Mike has some hilarious parodies about Santorum. One of my favorites on there is
Frothy.
That and where everybody's Googled your name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. The debate sponsored by Google was priceless. No. Google, Santorum, right next to each other.
Which I've still not done.
Don't.
It's my resolution for next year, too.
Yes. To not do that.
Yes.
To continue to not do that.
Exactly.
Eventually somebody's going to explain it to you.
No, they're not. I'm not listening.
My number 2 favorite, Shane, and I think you may agree, Norquil.
Oh, and the punch in the end is awesome.
Yes.
Honey, what is it?
It's that Grover Norquist. I can't sleep.
Oh, him again.
And he called me a poopy head.
Well, here, try this.
Norquil?
Uh-huh.
Norquil, the nighttime sniveling, sleazy, empty-headed, schmucky Weasley shut the f*** up so we can get something done medicine in liquid or suppository.
And that was Deba and Tom Schaefer.
Yes.
Doing the voices in the beginning.
Awesome.
With a little...
Yes. The sound effects are perfect, and the graphic, which we can't show you because it does have a curse word on it, is perfect as well.
Actually, we could.
Oh, yeah, on Ustream. Nobody could see it. But just one of many Rocky Mountain Mike favorites. And our number 1 favorite...
Yeah.
Just because it pissed
and you know what?
Off Sean Hannity.
It was in the morning, and I was preparing for work, and I was over at Democratic Underground, and I saw this, and I started playing it, and you yelled from the other room, is that Rocky Mountain? I'm like, no, it's on Democratic Underground. Yes, and yes. It's Rocky Mountain Mike, and it was on Democratic Underground, because then I had Current TV on. I all of a sudden heard it on Current TV on the Stephanie Miller Show.
And we would also hear this later. We'll play it for everybody, and then tell the story, just in case somebody doesn't know.
We're not roasting over Mideast fire, and it's growing a big nose. talking points being sold by big liars like Fox and Friends, media hoes. Everybody knows the turkey like Sean Hannity gets an audience that's white. Tiny-brained viewers who just don't know that what he says just isn't right. They know Obama's on his way. He's gonna take your guns and give them to the gays. And every ditto head is gonna try to prove the president is just a Kenyan spy. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to viewers, most are 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, we all voted you lose.
Yay, Rocky Mountain Mike. Seriously. it's
Wrong
school's
button.
out. School's out. Yes. Although you definitely need to go over to SoundCloud, Rocky Mountain Mike SoundCloud, and pick out your own favorites. But those are ours. Specifically that last one, for anybody who doesn't watch Fox, and we completely understand why you don't, that was the song Sean Hannity got pissed off about and played in his left-wing hate speech segment.
Mhm.
It was awesome. I
Yeah.
just wish they would have mentioned Rocky Mountain Mike.
Yeah.
Hopefully it brought him lots and lots of new clicks to his website.
I hope so.
Yes, because he certainly deserves it.
Because, he just might do a few more about Sean Hannity now.
Well, he did. He did one right after that
Oh,
about Hannity not knowing how to take a joke.
Yeah.
The Hannity man. Yes. Yes. But the one thing I will warn you is once you listen to his parodies, the song is forever ruined because all Christmas season, whenever I heard that song, I had to replace the line with Obama's going to take your guns and give them to the gays just because it's awesome.
Yeah, essentially he rewrites the lyrics for you.
Yes.
Whenever you hear the song, you hear
forever changes your earworm.
That's actually a high compliment to be able to change an earworm.
Yes, absolutely. But he deserves it. And again, big thanks to Mike Hardiman for writing our intro music. We absolutely love it. He is amazingly talented. And we just hope everybody goes and checks out his website, his amazing photography, which is gorgeous, at mikehardiman.com. His link is always up with every blog post on talkingleft.com. So you can always find a link to his stuff there. We are going to run to our last break of 2012, and we'll be right back with the failure of the year, the 2012 greatest failure. Don't go anywhere. This is Talking Left with Danielle and Shano. I think you'll like what we have coming up next. Stick around.
This wasn't there, that's not fair. On the house floor stands the boner, and he's whiny constantly. And the fiscal cliff reminds him of every vote that's let him down or cost him as he cried out in his anger and his shame. I am weeping, but the bronzer still remains. Crying line, crying line, 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 crying line.
Hi, this is Tim Cormall from The Tim Cormall Show. Join me and my guests most weeks for a progressive roundtable discussion about politics, news, and other fun topics. We laugh a lot about the hilarious antics of the right-wing nutjobs, as well as have serious discussions about issues affecting all of our lives. You can check out The Tim Cormall Show at timcormall.com, and you can subscribe to the show for free in iTunes by searching for The Tim Cormall Show. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Tim Cormall. That's CORRIMAL. So come on over and join in the fun at timcormall.com.
Filter-free radio.
Filter-free radio.
Filter-free radio with Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Jacob Dean.
With Jacob Dean and Skeptical Scott.
Make your voice heard. Unfiltered. Call the Filter-free radio comment line at any time. 202-6979-FFR. That's 202-6979-337.
I want to know what you think the most important issue is now moving forward. Is it climate change? Is it the economy? Is it jobs? The debt? What do you think is the number one issue? Is it single-payer for-profit health care? Is it the prison industrial complex? I think the number one issue is finding identity, and I want to say that as neutral as possible because I believe everyone everywhere needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror and say, am I going to be part of the people who come up with a sustainable energy solution that's conscious of climate change? Are we going to be the party that comes up with a real solution to the economy?
FilterFreeRadio.com.
You never know who or what you'll hear when you listen to the Nicole Sandler Show at RadioOrNot.com.
Your view is not being represented in this country because all of our views have been corrupted by money and politics. Remember, 94% of the time, the candidate who raises the most money wins.
That's the fact that we need to drive home constantly. It's all about the money. Dylan Radigan, you rock.
The Nicole Sandler Show, live Monday through Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, or podcast anytime.
7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's one every 26 seconds. So here's a 26-second message of encouragement.
Hi, I'm Stacy. Look, I've been there. It's tough. And I just want to say, if you find yourself feeling negative, use it as motivation. Let it be like the fuel in the fire to keep you going. Because the best is yet to come. Seriously, you're capable of great things you probably haven't even dreamed of yet. So don't quit now. See you at graduation.
Do you have 26 seconds to convince a student to stay at their desk? Now you can share your message of support at boostup.org. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, how do you throw a curveball? How do you build a fort? How do refrigerators run? How do fish learn how to swim?
Kids ask a lot of questions.
How high can you jump?
But you don't have to know every answer.
How many phone numbers are there?
Because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent.
How do cell phones work?
There are thousands of children in foster care who don't need every question answered.
What's electricity?
They just need you.
What's the moon made of?
For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
The most important online radio station.
It's easier than ever to listen to SoFlo. On the air and everywhere. On any computer, any mobile device, iPhone, iTouch, and anywhere you are, just hit SoFloRadio.com. Tell your friends about South Florida's radio network, SoFloRadio.com. Progressives across the country are taking action from Madison, Wisconsin to the Occupy movement. And now, Washington, D.C.'s newest talk radio station, We Act Radio. In this election year, Progressive Talk returns to our nation's capital. We Act Radio is proud to showcase the biggest names in Progressive Talk Radio, including Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Bill Press, Ed Schultz, Sam Cedar, and original live shows from our Anacostia studios. Take Action News with David Schuster, Speak Easy with Kamon Freeman and Ron Pinchback, and The Inside Scoop with Mark Levine. Available on your radio dial and on the web at weactradio.com. That's We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM in Washington, D.C. Truth is our product.
Yes, we can.
Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future.
Welcome back to Talking Left, the last few minutes of the last show of 2012. And we wanted to celebrate it with a special failure of the year. Mainly, we just want to laugh at somebody. Let's be honest here.
Well, also, given the failures, they're great news.
Yes, for us, not for them.
For everyone, actually.
Yes. Well, yes.
Even
for
their
everybody.
constituencies who voted for them.
I agree. We're greatly giving away what our failures are. Countdown from 3. Number 3 being John Boehner's leadership. Although there's many instances where we can name, where this, give you an example of that failure. Our personal favorite was his latest behind closed doors non-vote on Plan B, where many of his members didn't even bother to show up. And he was quoted by those who did show up as saying the Serenity Prayer in public and then sending the House away for Christmas. Sorry, John Boehner, but your leadership counts as our number 3 failure of the year. Number 2, Grover Norquist.
Who?
Exactly.
Who?
As many House and Senate members are now saying. So far, non-signers, Congress people who refuse to sign, 16 House members, and it looks like 6 senators that just refuse to sign the pledge.
Not to mention the ones that have just said, well, that was a different Congress.
Right. And those, I don't know, but anybody who can see me on screen can see this nice long list of names of Congress, Senate, and House members.
We should chisel that into a piece of marble and put it out in front of the courthouses.
I think we should put it in Norquist's lawn. But essentially who have said they refuse to be held hostage by his pledge any longer, which is a failure for Grover Norquist and a win for the country.
And as Alan Simpson says, I shouldn't repeat that.
Well,
Hope he slips on his robe to fall in that bathtub. He wants to drown the government in it.
Yeah.
One of the few times I agreed with Alan Simpson.
Yes. And our number 1, our favorite failure of the year. This is actually like a failure of 4 years in coming, or 2 years in coming, I think, from when it was originally said. Mitch McConnell wanting to make Obama a one-term president.
Our top political priority over the next 2 years should be to deny President Obama a second term.
It didn't work out so well. Yes. Sorry,
One
Mitch.
of your quotes from last year where you said, quote, the single most important thing we want to achieve is for President Obama to be a one-term president. So how do you respond to those Democratic lines of attack?
Well, that is true. That's my single most important political goal, along with every active Republican in the country. But that's enough.
There you go.
Makes me wonder what his single most important political goal is now.
Probably re-election. Isn't he up?
I believe so.
Yeah, and isn't Ashley Judd being called upon, flirting with the idea of running against him? I'm quite sure.
I'm fairly sure you're correct.
Yeah, how about that?
People are saying that she wouldn't win because she's a woman, and it's such a conservative area.
I think the people saying that are sexist.
I agree. And if by that logic, that ridiculous logic, her husband's a NASCAR driver, so she'll probably get even more votes.
There you go.
You know, I'm just using their own logic against them.
And there's just plenty of people elected in Kentucky who are female. So
exactly.
So
there's more.
It's the liberal part that'll probably be a little difficult, but there's some great Congress people from Kentucky.
There's more female members that were elected in this.
Yeah, that's one of the great.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
Congress is actually starting to look a little bit more like the American public. Getting there. Hey, it's not all white men now. So we're making progress. Of course, we want to do some major thank yous for 2012, starting with Nicole Sandler for first and foremost allowing us to broadcast this show on her network, taking a chance on us, and sticking with us over the years.
It was great to see her in that Roots, too.
It really was. George Rodriguez of SoFlo Radio for the same, for putting our old shows on, our new show on, always being there, being a great friend. And
tech support.
Tech support for us as well. Everybody at We Act Radio, Alex Lawson, Kimon Freeman, Pete Callahan, Daniel Marins, Rich Webster, David Schuster. I know I'm forgetting people here. Okay. Yeah, that
Well
sounds
said.
awesome.
Well said.
Yes. Mike Hardiman for our amazing intro music, for all the parodies he supplies us with, as well as all the other major progressive shows. I sincerely recommend that any hosts out there get in contact with Mike for original music as well as his parodies, which are amazing stuff. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to us on YouTube, iTunes, who has downloaded the show from our website. We are really, really thankful and happy to see the downloads increase there. And thank you to everybody listening, our friends, our family, our supporters, for giving us a great year. And we look forward to 2013. Absolutely. So we hope everybody out there has an amazing, safe, fun, spectacular new year and has great plans for 2013. Any last words of 2012, Shane?
I ramble as it is. I just want to be able to ramble next year.
Yes, we will.
It's going to be a great year.
It will.
I really think so.
Lots of great progressive stuff to come.
Yeah.
And feel free to give us any suggestions, what you'd like to see on Talking Left in 2013. Stay tuned for Mark Levin over on We Act. We'll be back in 2013. Have a safe new year, everybody.
My dear, for